I hate this. I hate this comp. I hate this map. I hate this matchup. I think it's boring. I think it lacks a lot of macro play. And I think it's mainly just about not dying first. Hey team, Coach Tickety here. Today we've got an analysis of the Midseason Madness winners finals between the LA Gladiators and the San Francisco Shock. This is the match that sent the Gladiators to the losers bracket, so I took a look at the games on stream just to see how Shock managed to do that. If you guys like this kind of content, be sure to sub to the channel and drop a like on the video. It really helps me out. And while you're at it, be sure to check out the Questline Esports channel as well. There'll be a link in the description. And with that said, enjoy the video. So, variations on dive for both sides. We have Balls End. So this is closer to like the end of Overwatch 1 meta of the Balls End version of dive. And what makes this composition less like traditional dive over here from the Winston, Genji Tracer, and something like an Ana for a pocket heal, is that this dive has a much more threatening backline. Although I don't even know if that's true anymore with Overwatch 2. Obviously with this Zen patch it is, because Zen's a monster on this patch. But basically this composition focuses on more individual play from both of its DPS and its tank in order to create enough opportunities for their Zen to shine throughout an extended team fight. Whereas this composition focuses more on heavy engagements that benefit from Winston's bubble, so that both DPS can play, ideally both DPS, or at least one DPS can capitalize on situations that Reiner's augmenting with his bubble, and they can use it to dance around themselves, and Shu can help meet those timings with keeping them up more of the time, so they're less reliant on getting health packs and taking themselves out of the fight, like this composition is, but also by getting aggressive with nano boost and anti-nade targets. You can also help set up stuff aggressively with a sleep dart, potentially, but against this composition, probably not likely. And then the speed is there as well, just again to help. I think both of these cases, the Lucio and the Brig, Funny Astro's Lucio definitely hits different, but in general, like the main support role here is just kind of like a band-aid fix for a lot of potential problems in these compositions. You could run Brig or Lucio in both these sides. Brig is going to be better for covering up the gaps that Zenyatta opens by being a vulnerable dive target. And Lucio is going to help, well, one, contributes to the all-in potential with speed boost, of course, can even help rotate Shu around the map during those high-intensity moments, but more likely is going to be, one, playing a dive role himself, knowing Funny Astro's Lucio, and being there to peel individual DPS. So, like, he's going to be there to keep up with something like a Wrecking Ball or a Tracer, with something that Brig would have to anchor themselves around their Zen to do. Since Shu's going to want to move more flexibly, move more in and out, and sometimes play even independently. If Shu can get, like, up here, for example, as Ana, you don't need your Lucio pocketing over here. You can play more aggressively, play for space, play for dives even as the Lucio. So it's a more flexible role. Funny Astro, obviously an absolute beast on this hero. But they do kind of function somewhat similarly. Just Brig is more anchored, Lucio's more flexible. So, how am I expecting this matchup to work? I believe on paper, this composition should be heavily favored because of a couple things. One, neutral. They just do way more from neutral because of this character, and also because of Echo. Echo over Genji does a lot more in neutral, as well as Wrecking Ball can threaten neutral without committing a lot harder than Reiner can threaten neutral as the Winston. Typically, you're not going to react to the Winston until he's actually committed his jump and his bubble, but you might react to the ball when you think he's committing, when actually he's just rolling through, or he can just double back and then commit later on in a fight. So more neutral pressure, both with a better mix-up game and just more range damage, but more all-in / burst potential from over here. So in a nutshell, and I know this isn't as straight cut as Overwatch 1 comp matchups, but this is in a nutshell, if San Francisco can either hit enough value before they dive or survive their dive and outlast their dive, specifically with Finn's Zenyatta and Sam's Echo, then this comp should win every other stage of the game. There are power spikes with this composition, both on individual heroes and when they all can sync up. But whether or not they can last long enough to hit that power spike or hit that power spike and get enough value to snowball off that power spike is kind of be the hard part for Glads. Definitely not impossible, but I would say a harder macro composition to pull off. Let's see how it works out.
I mean, this is kind of classic Gladiators 2 on this map. Funny Astro we saw yesterday, and you picked up on it already, but it was just out of control. Like keeping
I like that Echo's been seeing a lot of play recently. So, like, there's a lot of... I'm going to go on, like, a 5-hour-long tangent if I keep this up. But there's kind of, like, 2 DPS types of lineups for dive comps. Both these are dive comps, and you can see typically 2 types of DPS. You can see double flanker. We can see what Apac's running a lot, and you can see an Ashe over the Genji, in which case you would have a flanker / an anchor. And generally, in one of these 2 play styles, it kind of dictates how fast you can go. With double flanker, you can go very fast. With flanker anchor, you have to play within the range of your anchor. This composition kind of has an anchor in Zenyatta, but also has like a half anchor, half flanker in Echo, because Echo doesn't need to go all in to find value, right? I already mentioned, like, Echo finds a lot. Like, look at the range that Sam's playing right now. Like, Echo finds a lot just spamming sticky bombs, poking for opportunities, rather than someone like Genji, who's going to be trying to always snake way around the map, find like a shark hunting for his prey. So Echo functions mostly like a flanker, but in this matchup specifically can lean more into that anchor role, play a lot slower, play a lot more reactively, and still has the range of a flanker. So it's not like something like Ashe, which is like ground-based, locked to individual sight lines that, again, like Gladiators can just read that and maneuver around them. Sam's a lot more flexible with his position, even if he does less consistent damage than someone like an Ashe or a Soldier or a Sojourn even, things like that, then you can still pressure a lot, as long as you've got the mechanics for it, obviously. So Sam's going to be playing a really passive Echo, relatively passive Echo, I should say, until the iron is hot, basically, which is going to be either, again, when they know they can commit because their neutral pays off, or when they know Gladiators isn't getting enough from their hard dive that Sam no longer needs to worry about playing defensively. Until that moment, though, he's going to try and get as much as he can from neutral without giving up any advantages, and try and find a way in to get some spam damage, get some sticky bombs. And yeah, another big thing about neutral in this matchup, the Monkey versus the Wrecking Ball. Even with Monkey's ranged taser zap thing, he sucks at neutral. He sucks at existing before he's diving. So getting poked out by Echo here, getting poked out by the ball or the tracer here, very, very common stuff. Seeing Monkey dive defensively. This is likely something that Glads is even planning to do and planning to capitalize on potential chases here. So I don't see Shock actually getting this kill or committing for it even, but it is really hard to anchor yourself on point because of that. Now Reiner's jumping back in after getting healed up. That did a nice job of starting Shu's nano boost a little bit, but the cleanup is happening. Violet ends up going down to the Monkey out of everyone, but then the kill's obviously going the way. So when Reiner goes in here, where's everyone else? So when Reiner goes in, this is the problem, I think, with this engage. The problem with this engage is he's hitting a good target, but there's no, like, anti-nade, there's no dive in from Kevster, or Kevster's not on an interesting angle, and Patafan's all the way back here, so he can't even, like, dash the target. So this is a desynced dive, and this is where the power spike that's expected to happen, where Gladiators need to win, is actually only getting away halfway up before it's falling back down again, and this is only enough to kill the Brig, and it's not enough to win the team fight, because there wasn't the extra tier of Genji, an extra tier of Tracer also collaborating, an extra tier of Nano Boost or an Anti-Nade hitting to spike it even higher. So this is a power spike, and then Genji eventually catches up, and of course Kevster eventually catches up but goes down. But it's way too slow, and because of the good neutral pressure, like, the important members, even like Finn, was relatively untouchable during that.
To let the Gladiators dive in on the back line. They have Violet and Finn sitting there, just chunking health bars down.
I'm guessing that was an eager call from Reiner, because he just gave up space and then got full healed and expected Shock to be trying to posture around the space that Reiner just gave up. So basically, Reiner, so this is, I'm going on like 50 rants a minute this VOD, I don't know what's going on. So this is the point, right? And Reiner started, so this is Reiner, we're actually going to do a W for Winston, and he's controlling like 2/3 of the map. When he jumps back, he's giving up that middle third. So when he goes back in, when he's healed up and he's got his jump and he's got his bubble, he doesn't want to just reclaim this space. He's assuming that this space has flipped over to enemy control, so he wants to dive past it to punish these people. So what he's doing here, and the problem of doing this, so here, I'll just draw it on the point. So this is the point. Before Reiner gets pushed out, this is like all Gladiators. I should do purple for Gladiators. Do we have a purple? Okay, kind of. This is all under Gladiators' control. And Reiner is positioned here as the Winston to anchor that control over the point. When Reiner jumps away and goes here, it's good they didn't have to use his bubble, but he's just getting healed up. He goes to take cover. It means their leverage over the point, at best, is like cut in half, more likely cut down to like a third. So their leverage over the point only extends over here. The rest of this is now, these colors are too close to look good on screen. The rest of this is now expectedly under Shock's control. The thing about Shock's composition, though, is the only person who cares about space on the map to literally physically position is Finn Zenyatta. There's no, like, slower members like Ana's, like Lucio's, like Winston's even, who are going to be anchored in one position for more than, like, a second, right? So even though this space is free for Shock, they're, like, just barely skirting around the edge of it, because they know if they commit here, or worse, if they commit here, they might be overextending beyond Finn's LOS, beyond Sam and Proper's reach, so they opt to just keep playing neutral even when Reiner jumps back. Then, when Reiner jumps back, he doesn't just reclaim where he was just standing. He jumps back from here all the way past the point itself, trying to sandwich in. So what he's trying to do is he's trying to take this big slice of the pie that Shock has and surround it like this, so that he can bubble off support from here, and that all his teammates, again, this is just free space that they already have, where Shu specifically already has space, and Patafan was also back here as well, to easily collapse on anyone here. And I think the problem was Shock obviously weren't here. They were all the way back here. And when Reiner was jumping into them, thinking he was going to be able to double angle them, he was actually just hitting a single angle, and they all pushed back the same way. Unfortunately, they didn't all push back the same way. That's a lie, because Violet pushed back in this way and Finn pushed back this way. We're going to go back to red so we can actually see what we're drawing. So, like, trying to go this deep is okay if you have the resources for it, but it was Reiner that hit, then Kevster, then Patafan, not all three at once. So if you're going to hit a linear angle like this, as opposed to like that double angle, that surrounding angle that Reiner could have gone for if Shock were more exposed, then you need to make sure you're overwhelming, because here is just like the only thing that you need to beat is their reaction time. You can't beat their position. You're forcing this aggression. They're not overexposed. So you're trying to beat their ability to deal with overwhelming pressure. And that's only going to be relevant if they can't. And it's going to be harder to do it if there's more things hitting at once, rather than Reiner going in, then Kevster going in, then Patafan going in. And when I'm saying this like this is a long time, this is like fractions of a second we're talking about. But you can see 1, Reiner goes in, 2, Kevster's catching up, 3, now Patafan's looking to go in. So it's like all in the course of 1 second, but the fact that they were reacting to Reiner immediately and they started backing up the ways that they did meant that they were already backing up against Patafan and Kevster before they had even acted aggressively. You're being preemptively reacted upon because of Reiner's movements, because he's leading the charge, that if you're not caught up, you're never going to get caught up. So you need to start on such a heavier angle, or need to start with higher priority with like faster cooldown commitments, faster target acquisition, stuff like that, or more creative angles, so that it doesn't matter if you're in late if you're coming in from like an uncontestable angle. And again, this would be the case if like Reiner had jumped behind them and pushed them forward and Patafan was there to clean up. But we're 5 milliseconds into this VOD and I've ranted 12 times, so we're going to let the VOD play a little bit. But basically, what I think was happening there is like Reiner expected Shock to be more committal because he just gave up space. That's what they're supposed to do, right? When we back up, they're supposed to push forward, but they didn't. And while they did find Violet, that's obviously not an ideal dive target. With this composition that Gladiators running, like you could just 5-man dive everything and probably find a kill or two, but it doesn't mean you're going to win team fights.
And then you saw that Mikey got really low, started to back up towards the rest of his team, and that's when Gladiators decided to initiate.
Retaking here is Glads. You want to be able to set up Shu and obviously close the distance for Patafan. Not a ton of options to do so. They're building a nano though, so they could just farm nano right now. Yeah, you see Funny Astro trying to get really aggressive. Early bubble use from Reiner. He can't really stay here though, yeah. Again, like, this is such, like, this is so predictable. Like, look how nonchalant San Francisco play. Like, all they do is just, like, casually back up. And they're punishing Reiner for jumping and bubbling. And none of them are realistically threatened. Obviously, Finn's not. Oh, or is he? He almost gets one clipped. Thank you for that extra 25 HP, Blizzard. There he goes now to Patafan with the nano. Okay, the nano should be enough. So, in this case, this is a case of, like, Reiner going in. and then backing out. He does get punished because of the pulse bomb. He probably wasn't accounting for getting pulse bombed. Fair enough. But then when San Francisco is expected to push back into the fight because they killed Reiner, or if they're just trying to punish Reiner for jumping out and bubbling, whatever it is, even if they don't get the kill, this is now them going back in. This is the same thing that Reiner did solo. This is just now Panafan with the Nano doing it. So as Shock's expected to take tempo, Gladiators is aggressing harder because they do like a soft engage, back up, and then a harder engage to try and catch San Francisco, trying to punish the soft engage is basically what's happening. In this case, it works out because they almost kill Pataphan, and then Finn's like walking up like, oh, we got it. We forced the Tracer out. We forced the Monkey out. I'm safe. And then he kills both supports. Although, he does go down. It's really lucky that Glad's flipped the map during their soft engage, actually. Because, yeah, they don't really have the staying power when they're not collaborating on these dives. But, yeah, Reiner going down, obviously, made Shock feel like they could re-engage. It's a shame Mikey went down there, because I think if Mikey lives there, they can actually contest the point, like, really soon. Alright, Finn now opting for the high ground, knowing he doesn't want to stay low for too long. But Kevster's got the pulse, he's looking for it. He's hunting. Ooh, unfortunately, blinked a little bit too far. I don't like this at all, actually. I think if Kevster was known to be back here, which I don't think is the case because they just got here, right? They're retaking, Shock is, and Kevster was positioned really aggressively. So even if they know Kevster's here, I think I'd still rather wait for Kevster to engage first and then have the Monkey to lock them in the doorway. So when you're reacting to pressure, if you're Finn right now, if you're on Finn's POV and we see a Monkey, like his instinct reaction is to back up this way, right? But I think the problem is when Kevster's going in and Reiner's trying to augment this play, this is like, again, a fraction of a second difference. I think if Reiner delays this jump by like 0.25 seconds, this pulse bomb sticks. Because you can see Finn starting to back up right here, and he was expecting Finn to be in this doorway, and he's right here instead, and that misses the pulse bomb. And it's unfortunate. He could have gone violent instead, honestly. Either one would have been huge. But again, it's another situation where they're reacting to Reiner just a millisecond too soon, and it's causing Kevster to then miss his damage opportunity. And this is something, like, as a coach, if I was watching, like, you're fine with this. Like, you're obviously going to strive for perfection in everything you do. But this is such, like, unless you're working with AI and, like, electronic synapses, like, there's no way to make this consistent 100% of the time. But this is something that is costing them in this very specific instance that might be worth looking into. No idea if it's a trend yet. What's up, Digital SRC? By the way, the actual VOD is up if I want it. I mean, we're already here. May as well keep using it. One thing I find very curious is the trend that even with Monkey, you often see the Nano on stuff like Zen. So Nano Monkey is only good if you can hit multiple targets, basically. Monkey already does a lot. The main thing you'd see Nano Monkey for in Overwatch 1 even was to allow the Monkey to get more aggressive than usual, which is good when you're trying to break through a ton of space and you have an off tank to sort of snowball that space, and you've got DPS that can threaten from the space that you've created. But when you're playing dive into dive, like, it's very hard to justify a Nano onto Winston unless it's a defensive Nano on when he's getting engaged on by multiple people. So unless you guarantee that multiple people are going to be engaged with Reiner for an extended period of time, which, by the way, all of these people can just say no to, these two as well now because they can just boop them away, then it's, like, very difficult to actually get value from the Nano other than the survivability aspect of it. And Winston Overwatch 2, with his added HP, with the bubble now, is survivable enough, especially for Overwatch League players, so you usually get more value nanoing DPS or defensive nanoing your co-support. Alright. So unfortunate missed pulse bomb, but still in a power position. Glads. The mines come in from Mikey. Oh, and Reiner goes down early. How does Reiner die there? Did Reiner overcommit? Yeah, Reiner's up here committing. I think this was a miscomm between Reiner's planned engage and Kevster's planned engage. I think Kevster just wanted to try for a pulse bomb, which is why he triple blinked and recalled in. And then Reiner's just trying to go for an actual dive up here with Patapan, which is not working out in his favor, unfortunately. The Mines counterplay and the Sam counter dive will help clean him up. The trance comes in from Finn. They're trying to win this one. Nice little flank on Sam, but okay, he does get the kill. Not bad. Not bad from Shock.
be so back and forth, and a lot of this.
Again, if Finn goes down there early and they don't get to trance and they don't get his staying power, then I think they just lose that fight. I don't think they kill Reiner without Discord.
And you can't make any mistakes. Gladiators already walked away with 72%, but you can see that the Shock are postured to keep this rolling and to match that, especially when you look at how Proper is poised with another pulse bomb.
Proper with the pulse.
Online. Get ready for an aggressive echo.
Again, Glad's trying to go like way too deep here. This is, again, like the problem with this more linear, old school traditional dive is like once you've spent your tank of gas, you can't refill mid fight. Everyone in the Shock, Echo, Tracer, I mean not Zan obviously, but Echo, Tracer, and Hammond, the three that would actually commit to a dive, can always back out and refuel. Reiner not always. Patafan on the Genji not always. With Sombra now, you got more flexibility and more counter dive potential. I'm not convinced Sombra hacks are... So, Sombra's an interesting spot. So, I think hack is still incredibly powerful, and the damage output that Sombra does and EMP is still, like, good. The question is, like, is it better than something like a Sojourn here? So, again, like, instead of forcing double flanker with now a Sombra instead of a Genji versus flanker anchor with something like an Ashe... Soldier, although he got nerfed, and Sojourn, then like you can play for a much better neutral with any of these three heroes, and you can play counter dive versus these heroes as well without exposing yourself to the Zen too much because you've got defensive bubble still, and typically you'd have a better ultimate too. EMP versus dive, again, you're not expecting to hit more than 2 people with the support line at best, and like it does take a long time to charge. I think I would put more money on like the Genji Blade or the Sojourn ultimate for this matchup. But we'll see what Patapon gets done. Sombra obviously is still a very good hero for a lot of reasons outside of the damage that she does. Like her stealth ability and the scouting information and positioning that she can take that no one else can. How do Violet and Finn just die to Kevster? So Sam is duplicated right now. They're all the way across the map. And like we see the rest of Gladiators. So that's Reiner joining them now. But that was Finn and Violet in the mini room dying to just Kevster. I mean, the pulse bomb's one thing, but then Violet also... Okay, Violet's going down now to Reiner's pressure. He probably got bubbled off and probably didn't get a chance to proc his healing. Nice sleep from Shu as well to help them clean up. Yeah, awkward fight from Shock. Not characteristic of them to leave Finn that exposed. I mean, it was a pulse bomb, so whether or not you count that as exposed. Kevster is just built different, true. Thing about that, Engage, was Glads in control of the point prior to that? Or was it... No, it was Shock in control of the point prior to that. I think the problem is they're trying to make this aggressive copy play work, because normally in this position, especially against Tracer Sombra, you would like commit proper full time to either walking around with Mikey to deny hacks, and then usually Mikey's also thinking defensively, not like hyper aggressive unless he's got mines or he knows his backline's extremely safe. Or you would send proper to 100% mark Kevster, so Kevster can't do exactly what he did this fight. We don't need to think aggressively unless we're trying to take tempo before Glads have set up, which is what we're trying to do with this alt economy, I'm assuming, but it gets absolutely deleted, and then Proper can't find any value because he's now here alone without the copy, and Mikey's hacked, so it's like everything went right here for Gladiators. I think this might be just really good counter hacking on Mikey that stopped this play from working out. I'm not sure. I wish we had a better POV for this. Or, you know, the replay viewer, that would be cool. But yeah, that looked incredibly clean from the Glads. I don't know if that... The problem when saying that looks incredibly clean is like knowing whether or not that was kind of like lucky or if that looked actually intentional. Oh, well, Range, what is up? I'm doing well. I've got a very sleepy cat on my lap. I'm drinking my coffee. We're getting prepped for an all-NA finals. Oh god, yeah. Do you guys see how much Winston sucks in neutral? This was such a forced jump from Reiner. Like, they're just trying to touch the point, get in range of something. All they see is, like, Echo and Ball and Tracer, and Reiner's like, oh, I hate all of these heroes. What am I supposed to do here? And he's like, oh, okay, I guess I'm getting booped in. Okay, I guess I need to jump a brig across the map. And it's like, oh, I guess I'm getting booped 5 million times. I guess I'll have to primal and keep going. And he's still gonna get burned down because he's got Discord on him. Okay, he gets the nano just to survive. In this case, it's working out because I think Shock weirdly put a lot of resources into trying to kill Reiner. I think you leave like Finn and Violet poking away at Reiner. That should be more than enough to threaten his life. Like if he drops below half, then you would call Sam to go assassinate him. But like I think during that time, as soon as Mikey like saw him jump in there, I think you either go to commit to full counter dive, all 5 of you collapse onto Finn's position and burn Reiner instantly before you can even jump back there, or you commit to finding a trade onto Shu. Neither of which happened. We only, like, if you're only going to have Violet, Finn, and 1 DPS, I mean, if you're going to have 1 DPS, it should be the Echo, fair enough. But I think I'd want to see, like, Mikey here, like, rolling through right now, keeping him even more engaged, having proper, like, either Mark Kevster or here doing damage to Reiner. But, like, Mikey's over here slamming on Kevster. The Ana's uncontested. And now when he goes back in with the nano, obviously Shock's not prepared for this, and it's 99 on the point, so they have to go forward even if they don't want to. And then there's Patapan doing Sombra things that only Sombra can do. The kicks come through from Finn, but it's not going to be enough. Nice sleep from the Ana. Cleaned up. So the cool thing is that we saw 2 very different Sombra playstyles. The initial retake with Sombra was playing just to counterhack Mikey and completely shut down their dupe play, which opened up a play for Kevster across the map. Very, very clean stuff from Glads. But then we also saw Patty going for the aggressive flank, which is, again, something you wouldn't be able to do on Genji. Something usually only Tracers can do, but obviously Sombra can also get wherever she wants to as well, and was a deciding factor in cleaning up that fight. So really good teamfight awareness from Patafan on the Sombra. That's really impressive. That's way more impressive than any clutch hacks or 6-man EMPs that you're going to see on Sombra. Just that awareness of knowing where to pre-fight position yourself. Well done. Easier now that you can hack from stealth, but still like really important to read that tempo and get into position fast enough because you don't have normal mobility tools. So yeah, well done from Glads. Really clean retake. C9 XD. Maybe ball dive Ana during Primal to deny nano opportunity. I think either dive the Ana with your Tracer or boop the Primaling Winston in even further. But you don't slam on Tracer during that. If anyone's going to mark the Tracer, it should be your Tracer or your Brig. Alright, map 2, Ruins. Skip ahead a little bit. Oh wait, we get a replay. Let's see. So yeah, this was just a stick, and then he's only able to capitalize because Reiner came to join him. But yeah, that was all off of San Francisco Shock's engage getting absolutely dumpstered by the counter hack by Patavan. So we're seeing Hanzo, Sam Hanzo, proper Tracer versus Sojourn, and we got Ball versus Doomfist. So again, a bit more of a commitment than the Wrecking Ball on the Doomfist. Way more important to land your cooldowns on Doomfist than to land roll-throughs or slams on Wrecking Ball, excuse me. And Sojourn, again, this is sort of like an anchor who has the reach of a flanker, somewhat similar to Echo. In this case, because of their slide mobility and the range on the railgun, of course. And Sam here trying to abuse the ranges on Hanzo and probably positions like this, where he can play with Finn and basically influence wherever he wants over the map from relative safety. I just noticed they've also got Violet on the Ana here, so they're going really aggressive. This is likely because this is a very linear map type. Like if you can even call these separate lanes, they all see each other, right? You can see all 3 lanes from all positions on the map kind of thing. There's no safe space. There's no flank routes to get around. If you see people holding over here, you can't go over here for free. They're going to see you. If you're holding over here, you can't go over here. They're going to see you. So because of the linear nature of this map, it's basically all just a straight line across the board. It does mean that you need less priority on marking space. So you don't need something like a Brig. So for example, if you had Zen, Hanzo here, if this flank route was available, you would want something like a Brig marking this angle. But because you can see that angle, all Zen and Hanzo have to do is like, or now with Ana as well, is like walk this way. You can just avoid your threats through movement abilities rather than through marking, assuming they can't just like go close the distance on you, like a Doomfist could. But if you see like heavy pressure rotating, you just treat it like oil and water, you just match it. So That only works on more closed off maps where you have at least some options to move around and you have access visually to see your threats approaching you. They've also got more range again, even with the Sojourn one-shot. They've got Hanzo, they've got Zen, they've got Ana now as well. So it's again a similar type of matchup where you got better neutral over here, better all-in over here, better one-shot potential, potentially, from Sojourn on Pataphan. So we'll see if Gladiators can make it work again. I was a little bit surprised they took such a decisive, I guess not that decisive, it was like 99-99, but I was surprised that they were able to take shock that quickly.
On to Ruins. Ryan is now on the Doom.
Doom rolling out on the left side.
Just kind of boot the wrecking ball around.
Okay, just a free headshot from Sam. There's a benefit of Hanzo over Sojourn. You don't need to charge your one-shot potential. And a nade from Shu, but with no Doomfist ready to go in. And no Sojourn to follow up, that's a difficult ask. Alright, so they're actually leaning left side here, not right side, like I thought they would be. I'm not sure if that's specific against a Doomfist or not.
And Hanzo definitely provides that utility. Quick capture for the shock, though.
Again, Reiner just getting poked out in neutral. Like, if he's ever taking damage, it needs to be benefiting someone. So typically how you do that as Doomfist is like get in their face, make sure that you're the only one who can take damage, as well as deal some damage and some disruption yourself. Buys a lot of time for these heroes to come online. But if you're just getting poked out from range like this before you can even threaten anyone, like at most he was threatening Mikey there, I guess, which doesn't count. Actually, Hanzo does charge his bow. I guess you're not technically incorrect. What happened here? So, Funny Astro going down after getting a little bit aggressive with who? Was he alone? He was alone. He's just trying to get some poke damage in with the Discord, a couple nice shots, and then Sam closing it off. Sam, unfortunately, treating Wrecking Ball like a tank and not a DPS, is diving towards here. Actually, wait, no, he's just dead, isn't he? Yeah, okay, never mind. He just took 2 shots, unluckily. And then Pataphan finds the railgun as well. Oh my god, Mikey is tearing through his mouse pad right now. But yeah, they got more than enough pressure to hold this space. Just unlucky that Sam died there. Realistically, all you had to do was like maintain sightline here, wait to get healed up. As soon as they took down Funny Astro, they already had the point. No need to make an aggressive move there. But he was moving towards the Mega. He was just trying to get behind cover to the Ana sightline. It wasn't like a macro move or anything.
And that should help to initiate on some of these dives onto the backline just a little bit.
Alright, Reiner back on the Winston here. I'm guessing this is because they're on Hanzo. If they were on Sojourn, I would expect to see the Doom remain. But when you're not worried about giving up railgun charge, you don't really care about bubble placement as much. But also, noticing they have no Brig is probably also a good reason for Winston to find value. I'm wondering to see now if Shock will change positioning over to the other side, to the indoor, where it's harder for Winston to chase around those tight corners and has less sightlines to deny with his bubble. Basically, wait, let's see if we get a better POV. So I think, and this is kind of a little bit of coach guesswork, but like knowing these sightlines here versus like these open sightlines here, I think versus Doom, you want to position here, and versus Winston, you want to position here. And that's because Winston has to choose door number 1 or door number 2 where he commits, and then where he commits, he can't put his bubble in one and put himself in the other one. So you could always, or even like door number 3 behind them to the Mega, right? But you'd want to be able to continue aggressively whenever you can. So you always have an option away from the Winston specifically. Versus a Doom has no problem getting in here, doing whatever the hell he wants, and then getting to the other door, getting out, or like committing to one and then flying around to the other kind of thing. And of course, you're also indoors next to a bunch of walls where Doom can punch your skull in. Versus over here, if you're positioned here against a Winston, a bubble here shuts down all of these sightlines and you're forced into open space to get away from it. Versus if you're here versus a Doom, you can spread out. There's less walls to punch into, and you have more advantageous ranges to, like, if like Finn backs up here and Sam backs up here, they can both still focus the Doom's position. But if there was a bubble there, they wouldn't have that option. So I think the open space, better for Winston to deny. The closed space, better for Doom to capitalize on. So in response to both of those things, Sam and Finn and Violet should change their positions accordingly. And I think we are seeing them lean a little bit over there. The railgun takes Violet's head off, though, so it's not going to mean too much. Another railgun charge for Patty. A couple cases now of like Shock banking on these early engages during Gladiators retake and just getting owned. Really nice bubble position there. Again, I think that's like the perfect Winston bubble for this map. Like, look how good this is. Can't shoot here, can't shoot here, can't like reinforce here, can't do anything from this sight line if we're over here. Yeah, pretty good.
Well, you gotta try, right? You walk away with as much alt charge as you can. So at least Finn will be even closer towards that.
Sam now on the Sojourn, I think, as a counter pick to Monkey. I would love to be a fly on the wall for just like every Owl team and just, you know, leak their strats and everything and try to fully understand. But I think the Sojourn's a really good pick as a counter to Winston because he's a lot easier to farm. He's got more linear movement abilities. Ooh, Kester going for the stick, not quite finding it, but Violet. Ooh, Shu actually goes down first. Where is that pulse bomb going? Excuse me, sir. Don't get too excited here. He blinked past the Sojourn, that was it. He's just completely lost there. That's unfortunate. It happens, though. Just Tracer things. But during all that, Finn's cleaning up in the backline. And now, is this a case of Gladiators getting too aggressive on... what's it called? On Shock's retake? So again, like, the Winston jump here... this is... and now we're seeing Nano and Winston. Like, who does he hit? Like, if this Pulse Bomb lands, maybe they win this fight. But, like, they just Nano Winston onto Finn. Finn gets counter Nano, and Finn gets slept, and Finn's just living through all of this. And, like, you already can see, like... the value from Reiner's Nano is, like, already over. Even though there's still, like, half his Nano remaining, like, you've shown your hand. And, like, what's Reiner gonna do to stay relevant throughout the full duration of this Nano? I'll tell you what Finn has to do. Stay alive and click heads, which he can do from any range as long as he can see targets. So it's a lot easier for him to find consistent extended value here, especially compared to someone like Winston. And then, yeah, Reiner tries to continue the aggression, but this is exactly what I wanted Shock to be doing in the map previously when Reiner was getting nanoed and primaling in, is taking trades right here. Because as long as Finn lives, or at least as long as Finn buys enough time and you can equalize here, I think this still benefits. Like, even if Finn dies in exchange for, like, Shu, so let's just hypothetically, if Pataphan and Shu die in exchange for Sam and Finn, I still think that the neutral from these two heroes will be better than the neutral from these two heroes. Unless you let them get like a full rotation off where Reiner gets like back to full HP, gets his bubble and his jump back, then I think Mikey and Proper can get a lot more done together. Nurse Joy, what's up?
A pretty easy target, but I guess their ideal engagement was just killing Finn. The Gladiators, at least they have that beat left. And here's Finn. He does get Nano too. Just kind of goes
some nice shots. Okay, I didn't even see that ball come out. That was crazy. Zen with an extra 25 HP. Pretty good, huh? Alright, we got the railgun ready to go from Patty. Very aggressive. Oh my god, he had him, but he took like an extra millisecond to line up a shot, and the trance came out. Finn goes down post-trance, though, to Reiner, who's doubling down on this aggression with his Primal. Again, like, Shock are spending a lot of time and resources here. I understand, like, Finn and Violet really have no choice but to get Primaled into Narnia. But then seeing both Sam and Proper back here is telling me that they're calling to play slow, to peel back against Reiner. Which is the right call if Reiner's overextending. I don't know, though. A couple equalized kills, and Mikey's still here contesting point. And it is actually really hard for Glass to touch point here. And Proper is still being a fiend, so... Shock should win this. Nice. Oh, get the Meg! Oh my god. Play your life, play your life, play your life. Oh, Glads did flip. Aw, tragedy. Ooh, Finn getting really aggressive there. What are we positioned here for? So when you're coming into a fight late like this, buckets of halite? Halite? I don't know. Thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. When you're reinforcing like this, you have to treat this as like a mid-fight. So mentally, there's a couple things that you can do mid-fight that you can't do pre-fight. One of those things is get aggressive for most people. Maybe not for Zenyatta. But if you're coming in as like a tracer, you can expect less heat on yourself, less attention on you, and you can get more aggressive, especially if you're finding like duels and finding advantageous trades and things like that, sooner in the mid-fight. But when you're playing something anchored and slow like Zenyatta, you want to be relevant quickly, and you can't get more aggressive, but you can't get this aggressive. You can't get touch the point aggressive as Finn. The most you would want to do is take an angle like this or this, make sure you're getting a priority Discord out, trying to bait attention onto yourself, and then if they extend to get you, know that like you'll likely be only going up against 1 or 2 people, which you can outplay with positioning alone. There's no outplay potential here for Finn. He's just trying to snowball as quickly as possible, probably expecting his team to collapse on point. But Kevster is here too soon. Reiner's the one collapsing before him. It's actually Patavan that gets the kill. And yeah, actually, especially with Wrecking Ball as your tank, I don't think that's a warranted position by any stretch.
Nasty staggers. This is not good for the shot. They need to just complete reset as 5 go again. They don't want to bleed any more time. Gladiators just want to.
I also haven't been keeping up with the games too heavily, Destroyed. No worries. It's also like I'm only on the East Coast of the U.S. Not even East Coast. I'm Central, and it still feels too late to watch the games half the time. Slamming on a Reiner here. Good push back onto Patty. There's a lot of good space for Sam during his ultimate, but you gotta hit the shots! Oh, and Violet's dead. So Nano on Winston here makes sense because Finn and Violet showed their position and they've got no options but to try and push forward here. They're literally just like walking past the electrocution chamber, and so is Sojourn. So like, if you can guarantee multiple zaps like that, absolutely. Which, honestly, I feel like you could have just depended on Mikey and Proper to touch there and just like tried to outlast the Nano Winston, at least if you're Finn and Violet. Like, sure, it'd be no healing, be really tough for them to like 2v4 essentially, but Ruins kind of sucks, but it's whatever. Nice play from Glads. Awkward decisions from Shock on their retake and on their holds. Some overexposure on their retakes and some failed all-ins on their holds when I don't think they're playing the comp that needs to go all in so aggressively. Oh, are they like face-to-face, by the way? Are they like flipping each other off in this series? I don't know. I assume they are. Yeah, this position here, this was nuts. Especially considering how the fight before, how passive Patty was positioned just to counter-engage Mikey. Oh, so good.
We'll see where they want to go after this break.
Really good priorities, too. Nice job, Patty. Alright. I'm scared to touch this because it's an 8-hour VOD, so I don't want to skip too far ahead, so we're going to manually do this. I guess I could have collected. It's like 5 minutes. Oh, it's even more with the promo.
To a lot of people.
D.Va, some people D.Va pick.
Collusion for Mikey means no more Wrecking Ball. Okay, yeah, they are face to face. They're literally less than 5 feet apart.
Wait, you know what's really impressive?
Yeah. Who can crack first? Reiner's already lost.
Oh. Reiner,
as they should be. Yeah, truly esports reaching its fullest potential here. So Shock pick Eichenwald. And it's for Kalush's D.Va pick, huh?
D.Va as a part of this meta, and San Francisco Shock relying on this particular hero choice for a lot of their team comps. It's a great.
And the Zarya for Glads on attack. Is this a real Zarya?
We'll see.
Typically don't see Zarya with DPS like this. Would expect something more like a Sigma to form more consistent value, but Kevster's probably going to swap off to something like a Tracer after he goes for this shot that everyone goes for. And Kalush is on the D.Va here. Oh, it's a Genji for Kevster. Even more aggressive. Okay. So you got the bubbles primarily for your Genji, but also if Patafan finds like a reason to go aggressive with his railgun shot, you can help make those make sense. Very nice to see a tank not just randomly press shift when they don't need to. Beautiful. Kalush on the D.Va. So, we haven't seen a lot of D.Va. And I know Shock like D.Va more than most teams. So let's talk a little bit about why we might be seeing D.Va here. And this is a lot of guesswork, because I don't think D.Va's very strong. And I think versus this matchup, D.Va seems pretty awful. But what does D.Va do well? D.Va doesn't give up much to poke damage. With her new Matrix, she can like full Matrix rotations even if it's for herself, at little to no risk, especially when they don't have an aggressive tank. So Kevster's the main, like, flexible threat. So in neutral, Kaluj can matrix, like, nades, spam, prevent railgun charge and stuff like that relatively easily, relatively low risk, low cost. But at the expense of not being able to commit too heavily for the all-in. The most Kaluj will be able to do with the all-in is fly in with a DPS and basically matrix them and throw missiles at the target, which is decent, but it's not as strong as adding burst damage with a Wrecking Ball or a Doomfist, or adding more utility and burst damage with like a Winston bubble and Winston commitment. So in order to make this pick valuable, it's not just a defense pick either, actually, because I remember thinking this makes sense on defense, but I don't know if I would run it on attack, and then they ran it on attack too, I think. So this is either a situational map pick because of the amount of high grounds and specific ranges that they think D.Va can cover well here. Because like I don't see why on paper why D.Va would be stronger than a Sigma or a Winston here. And it could just be like they're leaning into Kaluj's hero pool and he thinks he can do more on D.Va than he can on Winston and play similar playstyle. But I don't know. Let's see it in action. Obviously not a huge fan of the Zarya, but no one else is really getting meaningful damage in, so it's fine. And if Zarya walks up, yeah, poker right back out. Big ante from Violet, but can't really push. Unless Proper or Sam find an opportunity. Kaluj flying around as D.Va does. There's the bubble onto Genji. Violet goes down to Genji. Ooh! Nice reactive healing there from Shu to keep Skewed alive. And Skewed is killing everyone. Yeah, I mean, now you get the kill, but... yeah, that seemed like they kind of just got walked over, right? Like, D.Va's got good neutral defensive pressure, but not against Zarya specifically in the one-on-one. And they didn't have enough aggression to enable their DPS to be able to find equalization kills or early kills from Proper's Tracer or from Sam's Echo. So I think this is a better counter dive setup. If they were playing Winston, for example, or even Doomfist, I think D.Va would own, and I think this 5 would own against that type of composition. But against a slower and neutral heavy composition with still decent all-in pressure with the bubbles onto Kevster, I don't know.
There's the point. The Gladiators
C9.
end up unlocking the payload.
Yeah, wait, what?
First push, just kind of walk it in.
For the very end, that's
but
I think the Zarya is a D.Va counterpick, potentially.
Yeah.
Looks pretty well practiced, though.
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
We'll go back and check the
Reiner's got good discipline on the Zarya, despite not having seen him run it too much previously. I think the way they played the map really slowly, played high priority around Kevster and Skewed, made a lot of sense. Kaluj does almost have his bomb, but not as quick as Reiner's going to have his grab, because he did get nanoed last fight, I believe. Violet's got nano. Are they going to throw nano into Kaluj? There's no way, right? Yeah, good card contest from D.Va, obviously. Again, like good like standing pressure or standing defensive pressure, being able to hold space at relatively low risk, because you can always reposition, you can always absorb damage. You're farming heals for your Ana. It's not bad. It's even less committal than a Winston, with more staying power than a Wrecking Ball or a Doomfist. But how do you get aggressive? Okay, this is how you get aggressive. You nano Sandman. So Reiner only had one bubble here, I'm guessing. How does Reiner fall so low? So, like, we see him here at full HP. He is discorded. He's at full HP. Is that just Tracer damage he's going down to? Okay, Kaluj is going in now. Getting directly onto Reiner, trying to take tension, I guess, which opens up the angle for Sam. He is even, like, naded, and their trance is available. Like, they could keep Reiner up right now, but he does go down. Shu looks like he should be next. Proper was even getting hyper-aggressive there in the back. Kevster going for a blade, equalizes onto Violet. Finn goes down as well. This is really good for Glads, actually. Even though they're losing this team fight, these late kills, maybe not so good anymore with these later kills coming through. Sam trying to use the duplicate, trying to get something late. So I was going to say, with Finn dead, Finn and Violet dead, they shouldn't be able to position top castle, but then those late kills and that pressure from Sam came through, so they're no problem.
But now you are looking at the fact that you've got a bomb and you got 2 bombs.
All right, goodbye, Finn.
You got a bomb in Kevster too. Hasn't got the play, but doesn't need it.
Trance comes out from Skewed? Was he getting 1v1 by Proper? He must have been. Oh, goodbye, Kevster. Just kidding, Kevster's better. Holy shit. I don't know how Shock lost that so one-handedly. Especially after taking out Skewed, right? Or not Skewed, Shu? Who did they kill? They killed Shu, okay. And it was Sam that killed Shu. Oops.
Oh, look at this. I'm loving
2 ults. I mean, grab should be enough if it doesn't get eaten by defense matrix.
Sam also switching off of
Okay, that helps.
finding not the right type of value that we would have hoped to see from
Yeah,
the
no
Sombra.
trance.
Shock
They're just
has
backing up.
forced
Oh, they are touching. Never mind.
He almost sees his grab.
It's Kaluj touching through the window. The grab finds nothing, actually. But Kaluj is gonna die. No way, Patty dies to the bomb. Okay, another blade comes through for Kevster, and he's gonna clean up. Holy shit, yeah. Wait, this isn't... Okay, where are these kills coming from? I can't see anything that's happening. Okay, Patafan dies to the bomb for no reason. The blade's coming through. How does Reiner die? He's just staying on point. He's just touching the payload for fun. And he used both bubbles on himself there. Like, if you're gonna use a bubble, like, rotate somewhere or get aggressive with your Genji and then, like, move into a target together. Or, like, bubble and then give up the space and let Genji work. And only go back in when they start turning for the Genji. Like, massive blade. I don't think Reiner needed to die there. Obviously, it was, like, a hard ask to go for that blade either way without more pressure and more ultimates. But that was weird. Zarya swap to Wrecking Ball now for Gladiators. I wasn't a fan of that ult priority with the Grav earlier. I mean, obviously it missed. If it even got one, like if it got the Sojourn, it would have been something. But even then, like I think you wait to use it on point mid-fight. Because you even just like the mind game aspect of it, like knowing the enemy D.Va is looking for grab that fight will limit their potential. They're already very limited potential. Good marking from Proper. Reiner's on the Wrecking Ball trying to get in. I don't know if I agree with the Wrecking Ball over maybe a Doomfist, I guess. I mean, Wrecking Ball's fine. Doesn't seem ideal, though. Yeah, Kaluj just is like absorbing all the pressure, as D.Va does. 2 big picks for Shock. Means this should be an easy hold. Proper, ever relentless. All right, what was 5 minutes now down to a minute for Gladiators on the second point.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's why Gladiators are really hoping that they might be able to get something else done here with the Patapan.
So yeah, Kaluj is literally just like a cart contester. He just holds the neutral space like Glads wants to make an X factor, and then he's always there to respond as well. Again, like the dangerous part about this is like it forces Proper to get aggressive solo onto people like Skewed and Shu, which means like the slower that Glads play, the better it would be for them, in theory. Which is why I like the Zarya, actually. Ow! Archer. Just clawed me. Alright, the Sombra here for Glads. Ooh, a hack onto Kaluj does nothing because hack's garbage now. And Sam's going aggressive on the high ground here, getting marked by Reiner, but goes down. Like, you can't trade negatively as the tank here. Like, even if Sam is going up here, like, I think you need Reiner to be aggressive on point during that, right? Like, you need to just ignore this pressure and then hope it works out with overtime in mind. Because, like, again, like, we're in a situation where Glads is playing a harder dive comp, San Francisco's playing a better neutral comp. You need to win faster. And it should be doable to win faster, because Shock only has one member. Shock only has one member that can threaten your backline in the Tracer. Why is Genji played in this meta at all? Burst damage, flexibility. One tank means there's a lot less space marked, so it's easier for him to move around. Also, Blade's pretty good.
as an insurance.
But basically for the added all-in pressure that Genji offers that no other flanking DPS offers. If you didn't know, especially for players in the Overwatch League, it's fairly consistent to be able to one-shot people if you've even got even just a small amount of lapsed attention or added resources from your teammates.
Yeah. But Shock definitely have they know where the goalpost is here to get another map win under their belt.
Zarya on defense, I don't know.
Sombra didn't end up really working.
So I think the D.Va should struggle on attack, but I also think the Zarya should struggle on defense. Because again, like, you're forcing these aggressive moves with ally bubble, likely onto Kevster. Kaluj swapping onto Winston as soon as they see Zarya. Don't want to run D.Va into that. So Kaluj now going for like a more committal tank, going more aggressive because they need to create space on offense. They can't just sit back and let Glad's feed on repeat. But it is going to be hard to work through these bubbles. But if Shock is smart, like I know they are, they'll be able to fake bubbles out. Or, you know, Finn will just kill Pataphan across the map. And now Kevster's going to die soon.
Pataphan just, again, not quite having the same impact right now as Sam. Good anti. A swift kick from Finn sends Kevster flying.
Ooh, Kevster, you got to find that kill, buddy.
Ryan does end up finishing the kill, but with Kevster down and Pataphan only just coming back from the spawn, the San Francisco Shock, they swarm the point.
Still an okay position for Glad, still very winnable. Especially with Reiner here, full HP. Almost got a nano in case they need it. Oh, wrap left, wrap left. Go with your Zed. Okay, never mind, they're fine.
He's going to have that nano online pretty soon.
Yeah, that nano will definitely be helpful. I mean, you can see how much.
Yeah, you don't want to get stuck here, so he's moving over. They need to wrap around their Zarya player because Zarya has very limited range as a tank, obviously. If you want them to be relevant, they either need to be guaranteeing personal value by finding a target themselves, guaranteeing objective pressure if the enemy's focusing the objective, or the your ally team needs to play around Zarya's range. Nice stick from Proper. I can't even see what's going on my screen right now. I feel like I'm going to have a stroke. These players are insane. They're so fast. And yeah, these dives. Reiner, relevant for a long time, but the fact that he got aggressive here meant that, like, this is even more, like, telegraphed than, like, a Winston jumping over here and putting his bubble down to just, like, open the floodgates down here and just say, like, hey, here's my supports. I can't do anything about it. Have fun. So, Reiner getting aggressive there, I think, was fine, especially if he was finding personal value, but the rest of the team needs to understand that that is a defensive time to play when Reiner can't do anything to help you. Felt like the tank matchup was just so in favor of Shock on this fight. It seems Shock understands when they want to make swaps more than Gladiators does. Because I think Reiner swapping onto the Wrecking Ball on their attack was a bit of a Hail Mary.
So just a little bit of a stagger. It does stop the Gladiators a little bit from being set up here. I mean, look at just how much harassment Proper has been getting into the backline of the Gladiators. In fact, the rotation that they're taking just so that it's a little
A lot of echo play from Sam as well. Favoring this over the Genji and also over the Sojourn is interesting to me. Good neutral pressure again from the Echo, but Zarya is pretty good at dealing with Echo pressure. The Nano still trying to commit through Nano because they have the dupe and they're going for the dupe. Okay. Instantly gone down.
Reiner ends up ending his own life, unfortunately, with the right click got into that bubble, and the San Francisco Shock looking at the Transcendence.
So, like, I think the problem here is the Trance and the way they're reacting to Nano and Primal with purely defensive movement. And we're also seeing, obviously, Kevster goes down, but in exchange for Violet, that's kind of okay. The grab came out here from Reiner, which I didn't realize. And we're not seeing where that's hitting, but it's not killing anyone. So, yeah, like, Reiner can't get this aggressive as... Like, this is something you'd see Doomfist doing, because Doomfist would not only threaten kills solo, even with or without his ultimate, but also have the mobility to get back to his team to refill his tank of gas, right? And so Reiner is now spending all of his V-Bucks trying to get a kill in the backline, failing to do so, and then left with no options because he's Zarya. This is not great, but it works out if you, like, grab both supports and kill them, right? So it's hard to say, like, Reiner shouldn't be doing this, or, like, Reiner's shit or anything like that, obviously. Like, I don't think that's true. But I think the Zarya is severely limiting their composition, and weirdly enough, limiting their backlines of availability to play aggressive. Because there's not enough disruption being created that keeps Shock on the back foot. Reiner now swapping to the Doomfist to try and create more of those opportunities. Reiner's got a really good Doomfist, by the way. Oh no, proper. Okay, he still gets it. I thought he actually missed it. I thought he hit the wall, I'm gonna be honest. I thought he stuck like right here and it wasn't gonna hit around the corner. But he landed like right on the side doorway, which is the right play to make if you think they have something in their kit to... I mean, that's just good like fundamental like practice too. Like you don't stick sleeping targets because the stick damage wakes them up. But it's not like Sojourn had anything they could do to survive it anyway. Look at this setup. Look at this gorgeous setup. You got Winston up here to zap and drop bubbles over on this corner. You got Proper over here set to triple blink across if needed or hit anyone here and go deep. You got Sam marking a safe angle where he'll never be exposed to someone like Patapan, Shu, or Skewed unless they can get past both these angles, and has the all-in potential both on cart with Tracer or, of course, with the range over here onto the Winston bubble. Then you've got your safe angles for your supports. You could get more aggressive with Finn, because he does have trance available. I think I'd like to see him here, actually. But if not here, then somewhere over here. Just marking these close corners and getting as aggressive as possible, getting that damage off, getting a high-priority Discord, then trancing his team into the team fight, where we'll all collapse on point after, hopefully securing an initial advantage from one of these two positions. Beautiful stuff from Shock. This is textbook. You could even leave, actually, Finn pushing the payload here because he has trance as well. Kevster comes out. He's forced to focus down Kaluj, who would love the attention. There's the trance from Finn, baiting Kevster out. Violet dances around the pulse bomb. And yeah, too many things to focus on here if you're Glads. I don't think they had the ultimates or the space or enough room on the map to really do anything here, unfortunately. Really clean map from Shock. I liked seeing them swap off the D.Va. I'm glad they're not just like forcing D.Va because I think it's a good kind of thing. I may be an Atlanta fanboy, but I'm also a Kaluj fanboy. Hell yeah. There goes Kaluj. Alright, we can click on the timeline, it turns out. And Glads is opting for play Circuit Royale with space in for the Sigma. Kaluj, obviously no stranger to Sigma. Double sniper comps on both sides, mirror composition for the first time in this series. Obviously, this is just a good Widow map, a good Sigma map. And because of those reasons, it's also a good Sojourn map. Sojourn can function similar to Widowmaker with the railgun, and against the Sigma, loves the free farm from the shield. I hate this. I hate this comp, I hate this map, I hate this matchup. I think it's boring, I think it lacks a lot of macro play, and I think it's mainly just about not dying first while being able to contest the payload. So let's see how Glads elect to do that. Let's see how Glads will prevent their first death. Early shift means space is going to force to back up. Doesn't want to leave the shield up. Obviously he can't. There's a lot of damage flying into it, but doesn't want to let Sojourn farm the shield either. So they gave up the initial corner. This is fine. This is the more defense-favored corner, obviously, with the high grounds and the natural cover available to them. But still just kind of waiting for a pick if you're either of these teams right now. They're just trying to vie around this corner. Like, this is the problem with this map right here. Oh my god, I didn't know that was a spot. Holy shit, these players. So this is the problem with this. Okay, give me a better POV. This corner is incredibly oppressive for so many reasons, but we'll bullet point them here. One, you have to round two corners as the attackers. So like, even if you fall back here, you still have to fall back around a second corner before you're actually safe. So if you're pressuring this corner and you lose like your Sigma, anyone that's trying to use any of this space is now no longer in safe position, because this just immediately opens up, and it's not till you get around the second corner that you're actually safe from LOS. This is also augmented by the high ground, which can actually see like all the way down to this line kind of thing. So it's very, very difficult to position anywhere safely as the attackers when trying to round this corner. That's why you see Widows going for grapple shots, going for wide angles, and just kind of waiting for the frontline fight to happen, and then hopefully they're winning it before it even happens by finding a pick in the backline. That's reason number one. Attacking around this corner feels impossible unless you just like have an immediate advantage from ult economy or a pick. Number two, there's no options for attackers but to round this corner. So I mentioned like it sucks to round this corner, but guess what? You can't do anything else. This does nothing. It does literally nothing because like there's sight lines here and you're still being contested here. Like you can touch the payload from here, I guess, but like beyond that, like it doesn't do anything for you. You can literally just position right here and not be threatened by those people and force them to walk around the choke, which is why you see like positions like this being held so often. In addition to that, there's no space over here. Going around this route, all that does is expose you to more sight lines from potential defensive Widowmakers and put you in range for the people who are still contesting the payload to then poke you out, something like the Sigma orbs. If you position up here as Widow, like it doesn't take much for the Sigma to just like, if defensively, throw a shield in your face, or aggressively throw hyperspheres in your face. Have Finn shoot you down, have Skewed shoot you down. That's not Finn, that's Shu. But have these members at safer ranges with more natural cover just have an advantageous duel against you when you try to take that route. Number three, the point here means like the payload has to fully round the corner before capping. If this point was like literally right here, this would be so much more doable. If you could use this angle to like threaten the people who needed to contest the payload, because you can contest the payload from like all the way back here and like not be range here, not be at range from like this line here. People have to round the corner to get rid of people who are contesting the payload. You can also use natural cover, obviously, to contest the payload and stuff like that. Number three, if we're beyond number three, I don't remember, the spawns are 5 light years away. Whereas the spawn from Defendos are also very far away, but they have got the benefit of being able to walk onto a higher ground that immediately sees the point. Remember, 1, 2, and then back to their spawn, 3 full corners that the attackers have to round just to get back to this point. Typically on an escort map, when you're reaching the end of a first point take, the spawns start becoming defender favored. And that's okay for most payload maps, but on this map, it starts becoming defender favored like right here. And once the payload's passed here, because of all this space and because these sightlines are so oppressive, it's so easy for defenders to set up way sooner that forces like so much more neutral space to just fall back into their hands by default. There's so many reasons why this map sucks, in my humble opinion. But it's also what makes these comps so relevant on this map, and usually this map alone, because you don't play for a team fight here. You play for pick potential. You play for overwhelming ultimates. You play for small opportunities to instantly win the fight, and then you either instantly win the fight, or if you think you've instantly won the fight and then someone equalizes back, it goes into chaos, or the fight's instantly lost against you because they found a pick against you. I think this is dog water meta. I hate this. This is so boring. We're just watching two teams sit and stare at each other at this corner. Once you're past this corner, I will say the map gets a lot better. But this is so boring. And there's like the expectation to find overwhelming value. Are you committing lamp or committing window? We're trying to burst through these people, but Space is responding with a flux. He's gonna die though, unless we've got a trance. Okay, no, the lamp is there. He barely stays alive. Kilo finds a kill. Proper finds 2. Kilo finds everyone else. Good window value. Flux was not big enough, despite forcing out their lamp earlier. And they win that one out. Now the map gets a little bit more interesting. Picking this map was a bit silly from the Glads. I think they wanted to force shock off of dive. They wanted to slow the game down. And they felt comfortable in the Ons Kevster DPS line. I'll forgive them. But if you're picking this map over something like... I hate a lot of escort maps, to be honest. But if you're picking this map over, say, like Dorado, or... I don't even want to say Gibraltar. I don't even want to say Route 66 either. We're running out of maps. If you're picking this map over Dorado, I think it's like exposing you to the fact that it's like, okay, we don't want to win based off team play. We want to win off individual performance, which is fine. It's valid, but I think it's more boring as a coach, especially, obviously. Maps like this make coach influence less important, which is a good or a bad thing. But from my perspective, it's definitely a bad thing. This makes macro knowledge less impactful. When you're just like walking into a fray, into a firing line, and hoping for the best. Flux responded to with trance, again, like very minimal macro understanding goes into something like that. This is like day one stuff, like they have big ultimate, we have defensive ultimate.
Yeah, you do. I mean, you're definitely really happy about this as the Gladiators. I think you finally
And even though their spawn's right there, they still have to round 2 corners to start threatening some of these sight lines. Early damage onto proper. I think he just got a little bit lazy there, didn't want to wait for his team. Not lazy, anxious, eager. The opposite of lazy, I guess. Too proactive. Pretty good defensive pressure from Glads. I think they're leveraging the space that they have very well. The problem is, like, there's too many opportunities that Shocker's still finding despite that pressure. And being on defense has its advantages, but it does mean that you slip up once, like, and the floodgates open, that's all that Shock needs to start creating space. But when Glads just kill everyone, that works too. Oh god, I'm gonna fall asleep, dude. You're heading to Wisconsin to get a bunch of cheese today. Your life sounds very interesting, Marshmallow. Good luck on your quest for cheese. And thanks for stopping by. Early picks from Shock here. What opens these up? So this is the Flux with a cross angle from Kilo and damage from Violet, not even through a window. So this is working because Shu elected not to press the trance button, probably because he wants to trance either Proper's ultimate or Violet's ultimate. But I think for Violet's ultimate, you'd rather just counter Flux it, and for Proper's ultimate, you just give up space. So I'm confused why we're not seeing the trance here. It's because we're trying to greed value from the lamp. But I mean, like when they're all in range, like when we've already given up this corner and they're now cross-firing on us when we're fluxed up into the air, I think you need the trance there first. You save the lamp. Really tough call. This is the default play. If you have lamp, you never use trance kind of thing. But in this case in particular, because you were already on the back foot, the Flux found so many, I think you need the trance. Very hard call to make in that situation though, but it is unfortunately costing Gladiators, because now the trance means nothing. When you got no one to stabilize and no one to take advantage aggressively from the trance, you got nowhere to go. Goodbye, Skewed. Widow is here to try and open up a pick so they can retake. They commit the lamp there. They really don't want to die. That's a okay play. Gladiators electing not to touch. I think they could have if they forced it. But no need. This part of the map is interesting. Obviously, like, everyone fights for this outside area just because the sight lines that open up around the end of the point. This point doesn't really start until the payload kind of rounds this corner, because the attacker sight lines are so favored here. And you have to play really, really far forward to the point where if you're playing up here as defenders, you basically like got nowhere to fall back to. So that's why people elect to hold outside, like where they are here. They want to go for like early picks early on, but as soon as the whole team from Shock is there, Glads know they can't hold space like this. It's too aggressive. There's too many opportunities to get picked and shielded and walked on, and basically for free, because if they're pushing the payload here, they have those sight lines anyway. And like I said, falling back from here is like a 5-mile journey, so they don't want to get overexposed, so they just go similar to first and second points, just far back, safe angle, look for picks. Shock can try to open this up, obviously with picks of their own, but the shield angles from Sigma here are very, very strong, and the attacking angles from this close high ground, not very good, so they usually elect to try and go outside, force people off this balcony, and then collapse in around them as they're pushing the card in. This is like the standard way to take for a double sniper composition, which is what we're seeing most of the time. If you're playing a dive comp here on attack, you can get away from just like pushing in main and then like threatening the high grounds after taking the space. Flux to counter the tempo from Proper's ultimate. He doesn't. Never mind. He gets Shu. Is this the new combo? Is this the new window fire strike? That was like... I literally... I'm gonna lose my mind. I literally just tried to like right click, take my cam off the player so I could fly around and show that angle, but we can't do that because we don't have the replay viewer. So we're going to go frame by frame and go back and see just how tight of a shot this was. Look at that angle. What's crazy too is like if Shu hits one more orb here too, Proper's dead. If one more orb goes into his head, he's just dead. And then he just hits this like frame perfect shot when he's at 100 charge right in the corner of the window just to find that angle out of nowhere. That was beautiful. Okay, Proper plays a little Sojourn, does he? Where are you going, Kevster? They're capping the point, bud. Oh no, he's forced to touch. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Oh, and Space is dead. He can't touch. Okay, no, Space touches after the flux. That was so close to being Sig 9, but it doesn't matter. They're going to clean up soon anyway. Yeah, I mean, almost every single fight started with San Francisco Shock finding an advantage, whether that was being smarter about ult economy or finding a pick sooner. The fights that started in Gladiators' favor just didn't turn into fights because Shock backed off. I think Proper's a bit of a gamer. I agree, Trey. Someone should probably sign him to the Overwatch League. Alright, on to Shock's defense. What do you know? Is it another mirror? Very exciting. Looking for the angles. Again, I'm bored as hell watching this matchup. And yeah, obviously Shock, they know these islands are good, they'll go for some early picks here, but the longer they stay, the worse it becomes for them later on, so they back up, start regenerating resources before it even comes close to that opportunity. Now they're going to try and bully Sigma out of the way so he can't round this corner, but as soon as he can round this corner, they have to back up. And now they play where everyone plays. Oh, Kilo found a pick, never mind, they can hold a bit longer. Even with that trade going their way, this is still okay for Glads. Or sorry, for Shock. Oh, but Glad's getting really aggressive, Kevster! Kalu should be poking out Kevster right here. Or, just kidding, Proper is on the flank! Okay, Proper should be dead. Yeah, 5 times Proper should have died there. He is showing his rookie mentality sometimes. There's a lot of situations I've noticed on Proper where, like, all he'll have to do to make sure his team wins is just like play passive, but he'll opt for like the all-in. Like all he has to do right here is sit here. The most he's afraid of is Sig orbs or disruptor shot from the Sojourn he just killed. So there's nothing that can realistically threaten him to the point of killing him. I guess if both orbs direct hit, he would die here. But like there's no world where this is the option you choose. And then in addition to that, like not sliding away, maybe going for an angle here, or at least like getting down below cover here. No, he goes in. This is like very intentionally feeding. And obviously like even if he gets the kill on the skewed here, actually because it's Circle Royale, if he gets the kill on the skewed here, it's fine because it takes 5 years to get back on track. But like if he trades, it's pretty bad. And it's just so unnecessary. Not a fan of Trampoline Simulator. I don't know, man. I don't know about this meta, man. Oh, On's almost finding the shot of his career. Just kidding. That was just a mediocre grapple shot. In Overwatch League terms, at least. Kilo adding pressure. Yeah, this is such hard space to break. Kevster's skating around the map. The window. Ooh, window plus disruptor shot is a nice combo, but Shock says they don't give a shit, and they just eat all. Was that okay? So, I'm trying to find out if the disruptor shot went through the window or not, and I don't think it did. I think it was out at the same time as the window, because Kevster's on this off angle. I think, yeah, so I think he shot right here. So it wouldn't have gone through the window. But I think the idea for this play is you're treating Disruptor Shot almost like a Sigma Flux, where you're using it to either keep them in this position or force them out into more exposed position so the damage from skewed alone is enough to find the kill. That's kind of like a soft version of the Flux window combo that we've seen before. So that's a lot of damage, right? And Skewed still has Lamp available too. Why is Skewed... Oh, Skewed's playing defensively because Space is feeding. Okay, hold on. Why is Space feeding? Where's your shield? Where is it? It must have been dead. But if your shield's dead, you don't play there. If your shield's dead, I think what you do is okay. Assuming Space has no shield, no shift, they shouldn't have gone for this play if he's communicating his resources here, because there's just no reason to if you don't have the staying power to at least hold this angle, but ideally push into it. But if he has shield available, he can wrap here, put his shield up, and then try to get across here for this cross angle, and knowing that Skewed is going to be fine no matter what he does. Or he could opt to put his shield like onto the Widow or just like in the middle of them, or just in front of them as well, and then take like a passive angle here to try and avoid the Widow damage, or trying to stack his shield with the Widow value here and buy more time for Skewed. Or if he has shift available, you could literally just like walk into this right here and then back into here, hold this angle, try and like put your shield up. Hopefully it's regen like 200 HP by then. You can throw your shield up here, again buying as much time for Skewed, keeping them distracted, and then eventually winning this out. But yeah, Space just died here, which forced Skewed to try to prioritize healing. He'd already used Lamp for himself because he was the one making a play. And yeah, pretty Chad move, honestly, for Shock to just sit in that Disruptor shot and not care about the damage they're taking. Well done. That's the power of, I think, Violet's Baptiste new shift. You can take 100 damage, and then all of a sudden you didn't take 100 damage. Crazy. What's up, Rapier Man? How you doing today? Again, just going for early shots here. Both teams kind of doing it. But then as soon as Gladiators start taking space, we hold the defensive angles, we hold for the corner, and we play the Circle Royale chicken game. Who's going to hit a headshot first? Oh, grapple shot coming in from Ons, not finding Kilo this time. Or last time. Lamps forced out. Kilo trying to deny angle to Kevster. Lots of ults from Shock used. No kills just yet. Ooh, scary. Transforced because of that rock from space. Oh, but Proper loves that angle, huh? You don't usually see Sojourn players holding this angle that aggressive. This is something like Tracers or Genjis will do all the time because, again, this is like one of two angles you can take as an attacking sniper rounding about the spot. So denying this angle is huge. Like I said, you can passively deny this angle by having your Sigma like spam up here or having your Sojourn throw a Disruptor shot up here to deny their timing. But to actually punish people for going up here and then find the follow-up kill, that's such a Proper thing to do. And there's another one. He's going for play of the game. Another situation where, like, not really necessary to get that aggressive, but he's gonna do it because he's Proper. Vader, what is up? Welcome to the stream.
I think so. I love the little, like,
that's a fiver. That's gonna get a replay after the map.
Have brought the Gladiators to sub 1 minute to be able to try to capture this first point, and they are at.
And that's why everyone's hyping Proper up to be Rookie of the Year, because he makes plays like that. This is pretty lazy positioning from Shock, but they know they've got repositioning priority. Scary. Yeah, they know he's there. Like 5 members are looking at you. He's not gonna peek. Ooh, onto Violet through the trance, through his ally trance, I guess, actually, and Kaluj goes down as well. This looks like no ultimates on the table for Shock, unfortunately. So there's a couple ways you would play ultimate disadvantage here. What you don't do is you play neutral, because they have the tools to just overwhelm your neutral game, even without finding a pick. So like I said, you want overwhelming pressure because you have no other options. You can't play the map here. You do that by either taking a member off the board with a pick, or you do it by like auto winning the front line with just better resources. That can look like ultimates. That can look like Houston trying to run Ryan Bastion, but there are other ways of doing this. But basically, if you can win the front line, you get the space for free, unless they equalize with a pick, which you can also play around with defensive resources. To deny that from happening, if you're the San Francisco Shock, you need to draw out the team fight for longer. So even though it's riskier positionally, I think they needed to hold here, or not here, maybe like here with their Sig, and then go for Widow could still like play up here, and then you play for this angle for Proper. Or even like the ground angle for Proper. I don't know, you want the ground angle for Finn and Violet, and then you'd have this angle for Proper. He could either peek late or go all in once people start aggressing onto the Sig. what the reason you want to do this is because if they commit an ultimate to winning the front line, you need space to give up that doesn't lose you the objective. It's expected to lose the head-to-head like clash. I need a better word for that. I think some people call it a crash. Like when teams are first starting a team fight, when resources are hitting each other at the beginning of a fight, I think crash is probably the best term. When the crash happens, knowing that you're at resource disadvantage, in this case ultimate disadvantage, you need to be able to give up space without losing the objective or giving up a kill. And you can do that with passive play from your Widow, passive play from Proper, passive play from your supports, but aggressive play from your Sigma. And I guess historically this is something that you would consider if you're playing like, God, I hate that this is the closest thing I can think of, but in Sombra Goats, I hated Goats metas, but in Sombra Goats, this is how you would play against EMP. You would play split and try to bait their attention early, knowing that if they go for an EMP too early and hit only like 1 or 2 targets, then you can collapse on that and you've eliminated the threat of EMP. You've eliminated the resource disadvantage. Or you put them in a situation where, oh, I don't want to ult just yet, we're not on the payload, it's not going to win the objective, and they're trying to squeeze out too much value, then you get your chance to equalize with picks or your own engage opportunity. So you put them in this sort of like state of limbo where it's like, oh, we could engage and we'd probably win, but that's what they want us to do. And they're just going to give up space and we're not going to cap the point. Or we could try to force them out, but the longer we take to do that without full committing means we're opening ourselves up to Widow sightlines, to Proper's Sojourn sightlines, and it's inherently riskier the longer we take. I still think that would have been the best bet for both Glads and Shock. Like, Shock should have held closer, Glad should have played slow to try and force them out, then commit ultimates just like they did here. But Shock didn't even try to threaten that space, so it meant that they were able to round this corner basically for free and just use their ultimates to find value and win the point. Fair enough. Circle Royale things. Still think Kaluj is the best Sigma in the league? It's actually really hard for me to gauge Sigmas because I feel like their wings have been clipped from Overwatch 1. You can do so much in Overwatch 1 as an off-tank as Sigma versus being the only tank. You're basically playing like Overwatch 2's equivalent of Brig as new Sigma, it feels like. The CD Bonanza. Noted, Ogara. Alright, that's a good way to start a fight. I don't know why Kilo was taking that angle while his Sigma was falling back. You didn't see him doing that prior on first point. That's a pretty big flux from Kaluj, though. He's going to be able to work his way over to the point. Misses a rock, though, so he's forced to back up. One good shot from Proper opens this whole point back up for them. Okay, the Trance will also do it. Flux to counter Trance. You still have Lamp. Proper still alive, and Space is not. Really nice delay from Shock there, actually. I think Gladiators are, again, falling into the symptom of, like, win more. When in reality, they need to respect the ebb and flow a little bit more, especially against a team like Shock, who will turn team fights on a dime if they're given the opportunity. That, like, everything was going well for Gladiators there until it wasn't. Until that Flux didn't kill Proper, basically, and then Spacey immediately died. He was banking on too much value rather than respecting Shock's availability to stabilize. I think taking the Lamp out with that Flux, if he just plays passively, regens his shield, like, they still, like, snowball that space really well, because Kilo still wasn't in an aggressive position. Immo can turn fights? Gasp. So can headshots from Proper here. What do you know? Who would have thought?
Not with team wipes, just with individual picks, burning that time bank down close to 0. Is Proper going to go for something cheeky? He was trying it. I wouldn't test dance.
Alright. Proper learning some restraint is good. Giving up space here to the walls. Nice rock, Kaluj. Oh. Okay. Okay, Kevster. It's going to be such an uphill battle trying to finish this map out, but that's how they're going to get it done. Nice Lamp. Again, like, in a situation like this, okay, you have two options in a situation like this. Match resources with the Trance, or understand that, okay, we don't need to win within the next 5 seconds as long as we win. Unless you do need to win within the next 5 seconds, but realistically, they have the ability to touch the point with space still alive, with trance, with rallies still available. They don't need to trance and win this right now, but the fact that they are electing to trance means they do need to win this during trance. So they need to get aggressive right now and not only nullify this window, but turn it into a winning situation with trance here. Let's see if they manage to do that. Keps are going down. It's not a good look. Yeah. Literally just don't trance there. Wait 2 seconds for their window and then trance so that your trance overlaps their window and the beginning of their trance. Or go in together when you're trancing. Like, understand that it's a team play, and like even with trance, Space's shield on the Sigma needs to just fly at that window while everyone's running forward with the trance. As soon as the window breaks, you need to be able to find value by breaking the lamp and finding a kill before they're still able to use the window or find one shots with the Sojourn, not the Sigma. And yeah, I don't know. That just felt really, really forced. But it was an overtime, last-minute fight kind of situation, so I understand a little bit of pressure there. But twice now we've seen trances from Glads that didn't look like team plays. Yeah, here's his play of the game. Way to go, Proper. You did the thing. This is the new Nano Blade. You did the thing. Oh, hate that map, dude. It's so boring. I'm falling asleep. All right. Colosseo. So, who was it that said Colosseo was a really interesting one? Someone in my chat was saying that. Show yourself.
Yeah, and especially with the Lucio as well to help you zoom around the map. So we're seeing Funny Astro as well in for skewed. As we saw
Funny Astro back, Reiner on the Doomfist. Mikey's back in, which implies Wrecking Ball play, but also willing to flex onto the Winston. Almost a full mirror, but Winston over Doomfist here. I would give this to the Doomfist in terms of macro priority, but it really comes down to how much value Mikey gets from the bubble. So this is somewhat similar to the Wrecking Ball matchup, where you'll have more neutral threat with someone like a Doomfist just because he's got more renewable cooldowns. He's not as all-in as someone like Monkey, but you'll have more all-in and more utility for your team in the form of your bubble with Mikey's Winston. So this comes down to whether or not Reiner finds enough individual value to warrant this pick, and if they leverage neutral well enough to make sure that Mikey's all-in engages with the bubble, don't find as much value. It's awkward to say that Winston is a more all-in hero than Doomfist, but when I say all-in, I mean macro-wise. Like, their team comp as 5 needs to get more value from Mikey's aggression windows versus these people. Reiner can get value himself, and it doesn't depend on Kevster also finding value at that exact moment on the same target, whereas Mikey's value usually does.
But here with the Sojourn and the Tracer. So Sam, Proper, having great games today, but can the Gladiators keep with the...
I have some mixed emotions, guys. for like the entirety of Overwatch 2 in the Overwatch League, I was talking about how I thought more teams should roll out here on their first attack and vie for this space because it opens up angles for people like this to be able to wrap and hit their backline. And then, for the past 2 months, we've seen Overwatch League teams run it down main, play Hanzo and Soldier, and just shoot damage at the enemy team for 5 years until one of them gets a pick, and then they push the robot. So now we're seeing Glads actually vie for this space. I don't know what changed their mind, but I feel like, I don't know, I feel like I'm being betrayed. Everything I knew about Overwatch told me that this would be a good option to create space for your team first fight, and then the Overwatch League told me, no, you're stupid. And now we're getting into the Midseason Madness tournament, winners finals. This is winners finals, right? I think it is. Yeah, because Shock made it into the grand finals off of this. And now they're changing the strat that almost everyone has been doing on similar comps. Like, you'd be running the same comp and still just running it down main. How many Doomfists have we seen, like, just like hopping back and forth on either side of the bot, just moving like cover to cover, just waiting for something to happen rather than vying for space over here where they can create opportunities. And what I'm worried is now that I'm seeing them, they're all just going to do it again. So I'm thinking this is maybe a play that they do in anticipation of a Wrecking Ball. Because, like, if Collusion's in, maybe they expect, like, a Sigma and they would just play to, like, go all in here. But I think they were expecting, like, a Wrecking Ball Tracer rollout and playing to deny that when they don't actually want to play for that space. So, I don't know, man.
Will that be able to take them over the top and tie up this series? That's what we're looking at here for Colosseo.
And, yeah, we're back. Everyone look at the robot and shoot each other.
I guess they were making sure the Glads didn't go for this big flank.
Going very aggressive early on here with Reiner's Doomfist, but they are not finding anything.
Just take a little bit of a better
Sam does get forced out, though. I'm not sure why Sam...
kind of huddling around
What did Sam shoot there?
flank. The Glads sniffed that out. They were like, okay, we'll just go main.
Oh, I was trying to get Kevster. Okay.
A little bit of a better position.
I would have rather seen him, like, go aggressive and try and find Patafam on a more aggressive angle here.
Then the shock, you can see them kind of huddling around this miniature.
Shock jumping away.
Mikey takes a big ante and actually has to
I'm surprised Reiner also didn't take more damage going into that.
Good speed boost from Astro, but I mean, he kind of sped boosted him away, and Mikey got punched into the back line.
There's Sam finding Patafan, Proper finding Kevster. Hey, if everyone kills their counterpart, we win, right?
But punching Mikey back into the rest of the team, not great. Guys do have the smallest lead in the world, but it should be the cleanup for.
Oh, goodbye, Shu.
Not crazy amount of staggers though. Unless they kill Reiner.
Yeah.
Oh, man, this snowball is going to be massive. He's dead. There's no way he lives. Okay.
Doubling straight inside. Yeah, there you go. Okay, that's fairly large, and the bot.
That's a pretty good first fight. If they can get it to, like, this crosswalk, that's a pretty good first fight.
Right now, just to be able to keep that thing rolling, and I mean, you just want to get to the checkpoint. If you could get to the checkpoint, I think you're feeling pretty good.
Doom
about
rolling
what
out.
you have.
Proper's
But
marking
man,
space.
Proper
Ooh.
going after Patty again.
They need to make this work.
No, not going to happen. Nano boost for Mikey as he jumps the back line.
So the nano boost there for Mikey gives him the confidence to go deeper, not necessarily do more damage, but it means he can stay relevant for longer. He becomes more of an obstacle for longer. He obviously is the one getting the kill in the shoe, but that nano boost for Mikey is to let Proper continue making plays. So again, like nano boost on Monkey in Overwatch 1, like you would get a ton of damage just from cleaving both tanks sometimes, if nothing else, and guaranteeing a lot of survivability. This case, it is damage. It's not zero damage added, of course, but it's mainly for the staying power, for the survivability that adds to Monkey's kit when he can't die because he's nanoed essentially. Shock of looking like they're obliterating Gladiators here. How does this go to a map 5? They might even get... Stop putting 3 people on the damn payload. You know what you do here? You put Violet on the payload and you threaten these angles. What the fuck?
I think so.
I thought we were past this, Gladiators. Or not Gladiators. Shock. I thought people learned. Even if you're only playing to cap the point, which they're not, obviously, they're willing to commit to this. Decent attempted trade from Reiner there, but the rest of the team was obviously just not positioned in a way to react to that. I think they were expecting Shock to back out, so they were fine getting more individuals in aggressively to try and deny the payload push. Ooh, really nice beat. Thule, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. But the kill feed is nothing but orange.
The Gladiators have a whole wealth of ultimates, but Astro doesn't have his beat anymore. Not sure where that went, but the
AJ.
They got 4 ults.
Oh, someone Ajaxed? No way you're beating at 50 HP against a Tracer in front of you.
Oh, that's such a feels
That's a
bad.
proper Ajax right
It's
there.
such a feels bad. You would love to have that ultimate online to be able to deal with anything coming out from the Shock here.
Okay.
It's just to make sure that you've got sustain going into the next fight. which
So-
you really need.
I kind of wish Reiner wouldn't play Doomfist here. Despite I like his Doomfist a lot, but like you can't go in and die on each of your engages and warrant this pick. He's got his ultimate now, so we should be able to play the game again. And they are stabilizing finally. But damn, that took a long time for Gladiators to get any sort of semblance of a team fight in. They were just getting farmed before that. Crazy. But somehow they win this map. I love push.
Based on the pace that the Shock were going with for those last few fights as well, just really not giving the Gladiators a chance to
Setting up
breathe, but
multiple
finally
angles
it's
here.
like
Our
Gladiators
Shock.
start kicking off some
Proper's
fights
playing to
themselves.
bait the robot and just repush it. Again, like losing the fight here, if you're Shock, it's only bad because you committed nano. I think if they just don't commit nano here and you let... So if you're going to position like this, if you're going to position with split threats like this, knowing that these threats can never meet each other. There's a wall here that prevents them from meeting, right? You need to do a pressure release situation. You need to like accept that this is where the pressure is coming from and be like, okay, this is not where we're fighting. This is where we're fighting. This is where we're finding value, I should say, and let Proper push the payload while everyone else kites out. Like, you could literally have Sam like kite this way even and just play solo, which is why this playstyle is better with heroes like Echo or Sombra more so than Sojourn, or even like a soldier to just sprint away kind of thing. But what you don't want to do in this situation is take a team fight, commit to a team fight even with nano boost, unless you know you're going to win it with like this being the extra pocket. But Proper was playing for the robot here, late collapse maybe, and they were already starting on a back foot because Glads are the one finding this engage onto your Sojourn, no less, like one of your main damage dealers, instantly going down. The nano hits Mikey, but he gets slept, and I just don't understand the need to commit here. It's really good that Proper is pushing the payload, and after seeing all those losses, he's going to elect to just stay on the payload, probably until he dies. Or no, never mind, he's getting out alive. As long as he doesn't waste too much time, that's fine. If owl teams are stacking 3 on payload, think of all the silver/golds. Our games will just be 5 people pushing the robot. Hey, if you played the beta, that's every game. You're not wrong. So yeah, when you're going for a pressure release situation, like, you accept that you're losing here so you can win here. And you do this because you know this isn't the whole game. This isn't the entire team fight. And even if you're like forced all the way back to spawn, or even if you let people die here, you know that the Gladiators aren't winning the macro game. They're winning just this fight, which doesn't mean they win the objective. And then you still have your resources like Nano. You still have time to reposition because they have to go back and push the robot to regroup, reposition, take a fight that is actually more meaningful to you. But I think they were just trying to catch them off guard. Maybe get some people to turn for the robot while they commit with a nano here when they weren't expecting them, but that seems ambitious. Shock is definitely a team full of ambition, though. And there's just a pick from Sam, everyone's favorite way to start a fight. Nano onto the Doomfist. Means Finn just dies. Where's Violet? That's so unlucky that this is like right on the edge of the damage window here, so the sleep just instantly wakes up. Otherwise, Finn lives that. But yeah, where's Violet to boop him back into the slow? And Sam just dies as well. Yeah, this is how you get value on Doomfist, kids. If you just go into the backline, kill 2 people every time, why not? Well, not like that, Reiner. Why did he go in here? He's alone. He's post-nano. He's no cooldowns. He doesn't have the robot in his control, and his backline's getting primaled. That's, I think, just lack of attention. Too aggressive, trying to ride momentum too much.
Get control of the bot there and push it onto the barricade, and it felt like Glads thought they won that, but Mikey comes up with 3.
Yeah, I don't know if Glads thought they won that, but Reiner definitely thought they won that. Because he found a lot of individual value. That's the thing about this composition, though. Individual value can be found without the need of teammate support, but also individual value doesn't always translate into teammate value. So again, similar to the Ball Zen composition we saw previously and in Overwatch 1, everyone can act independently, which is a good thing in neutral, but macro-wise in an extended team fight, you need to make sure you're either able to A, find an individual advantage from one of these people and then all collapse onto each other to snowball that value, or B, understand that traded value is good in an extended team fight as long as you're still willing to pull yourself away from a winning situation. In Overwatch 1, what would be your advice for climbing from 32, 33 to Masters as a Rhine? Oh my god, so many things, dude. That's such an open-ended question. Play better. That's my advice. If you're playing Rhine as a one-trick, it's going to be difficult. But I would say just A, depend very little on your teammates, become as much of a DPS threat as you can, make sure you're not marking only objective space, but relevant DPS space, so high grounds, flank routes, and things like that. And make sure you're always winning the front line whenever they give you a front line battle. If you're playing Rhine into Rhine, you need to win that every single time.
Watch how much value each of them gets when they use any of their ults.
Oh, see ya, Kevster. I'm pretty sure Sam hit that shot by accident. But yeah, play better and you'll climb. XD. There's my professional coaching advice. But yeah, it's such an open-ended question. It would have to come down to looking at specifics of your play. you're at a level where you can no longer push just mechanics or just game knowledge. You need a good mixture and balance of both, and you need a decent amount of flexibility as well, especially on a hero like Rein, because you can't play Rein the same way on on King's Row as you can as Gibraltar, right? So understanding what space is relevant, not just what maps are relevant for Rein, understanding how to play different compositions and comp matchups, having a flexible hero pool if needed for those other maps that don't feel great on Rein, all very helpful at the rank you're at. Your GM now, cheers. On Jib, you play Rein in your spawn. I'm still waiting for someone to do like a crazy attack TP to the high ground Rein strat. But that's just me. Ooh, yeah, okay, Shock should win this. Oh, never mind, Mikey has slept. Gladiators are killing everyone. Kevster is just different. Alright, that's how Glads win this. Kevster. Yeah, bring out the cloudy strats in the Overwatch League. Alright, let's see the stick. It's okay, he's at full HP now. No way he slides into Finn. There's no way he slides into Finn! That's a misclick for sure. Almost guaranteed he meant to slide backwards into the Tracer. That's like a very Overwatch League thing for Sam to do, but he was just misinputting. That's a tragedy. I'd be pissed. But they didn't even get the spawn at least, and they still almost got double the progress Shock does over Gladiators, so they're still sitting pretty. Tracers and Shy, fair. Tracer just does so much, you know? Even more now in Overwatch 2, despite having less damage output. Ooh, nice restraint on Reiner there, but it doesn't matter. Again, a lot of attention putting on Winston here. This time from the other team. Okay. Yeah, what was Finn doing there? Finn positions there to aggress across the bridge, but not when there's still people on the ground or still threats hitting your backline. This has just been like an attack-favored game, I guess. Whenever one team's in control, they snowball so much space. Both teams struggling to retake situations here. I really like what San Francisco did on their previous hold, but they can't really do that split pressure anymore on this section of the map. Aggressive beat? Yeah, like, there's no extended fight pressure from either team. It's almost like both teams are being taught to just, like, if you're losing a fight, just go die on the robot. Because there's so many late... Okay. Well, there goes Shu. There's an early pick. Not one you see every day. Patty with the ultimate to try and create some space here. Maybe a pick. Not against a beat, though. Backing all the way out. Ooh, almost getting Violet there. And there goes Finn. What is Finn doing on the low ground here? How did he even get here previously? Like like right here he should be on the bridge, right? Is this Finn? No, wait, that was Finn. I don't understand what's forcing him onto the ground here. Kevster is. Okay, it's because Shock went all the way here and expected to go past it, and Finn either needs to play like really long safe sightlines, which again loses the Kevster, or try to keep up as best he can, which is what he's kind of doing here. There's just too many things. Downside is he's forced into an awkward nano onto Sam, but he does kill Reiner. Okay, they clean up though. Alright, 1 minute on the clock. Shock have objective advantage. If they're smart, they can leverage this for the full minute. They're not going to be able to push it past neutral, but that should reset the close spawn advantage that Gladiators have. They should be able to take... Okay, never mind. With Finn dead, they can't even. But they can at least play high ground positions, which is difficult to take. But they only have Nano available soon for Glads. They're going to have to use that really effectively, likely onto Reiner. Or hope that Patafan finds another pick. But they don't play high ground. So the only reason you wouldn't play high ground here is if you're trying to force a fight in these long angles, which typically you only do if you have the ranged advantage, which you don't actually, considering... I mean, Mikey's bubble kind of gives them the range advantage, but like... Yeah, I don't know. I feel like playing down here just opens up a lot more opportunities for Reiner. And... Maybe they think because Reiner doesn't have ult and they know they don't have beat, they can match front lines with Mikey's bubble and then just play for Sam's ultimate when it comes online. But they get nanoed in before Sam can get into a good position. Finn's dead again. Is he? Okay, he's not. Never mind. But Sam's doing nothing this whole team fight. And again, like, if you position close, so what I said on Circuit Royale doesn't really apply here, because the close positioning here that Shock have, they lost to the resource advantage here because they didn't quite have the ultimates they wanted to have. I'm guessing they were trying to farm them before trying to match. So they gave up space. The problem now is the space that they're giving up into is still open to these sightlines, and it's not advantageous to them. There's no corner for them to back around. If they were able to get onto the high ground, all 5 of them at least, then they'd be able to do something here. They'd be able to stabilize and try to turn this team fight. But because they've got nowhere to run to, this is now like worst possible situation because all the space that Gladiators just burst into is still relevant, especially for members like Pataphan and Shu and Reiner who can go wherever he wants.
Done so successfully.
Sam! Goodbye. And this is going to be the map, isn't it? Get off the payload. There's 3 of you on there. Get off. There's 4 now. Get off the payload. Alright, there you go, boys. There you go. Go get the kills. What really sucks here? Get off the damn payload. Go play over here. Go to the playground. Get off the damn payload.
Gladiators, they might be able to go ahead and match that progress. Can anybody get there?
What really sucks about this is that they're at a position where if they touch and they progress, it's instant win unless Shock are there to contest for overtime the moment it crosses. So this is a really awkward situation for Shock because they don't want to contest it. They want to use range. They want to build ultimates. They want to find value from Sam. They want to build beat and things like that. They want to build primal, but they have to touch or else they instantly lose. It's still better than if obviously Glad's had the lead because at least it gives them an opportunity to full hold them here and end the map here as well defensively. But it does mean that their ultimate progress is nowhere near where they wanted it to be. The stick from Kevster finds Sam. There goes his ultimate. The only ultimate they still have in play. There's still no nano yet. There's no beat yet. Finn. Is Finn going to die? No, he gets the nano into Mikey. Mikey gets the primal. He's sending Ana to Narnia. That's our good pick, but I don't think it's enough with no supports left in the game. He's not going to be able to knock them off. There's too many members. I don't know. The low ground hold there, the only thing I can think to justify it is because they thought they were going to build their ultimates faster, and they didn't think the nano was coming out that soon. Because if they knew nano was coming out, they would have sent like just Mikey to contest the payload at the corner and then use these high grounds for Sam and their Ana. And then obviously had space to give up, and that still gives them advantage all on this high ground. But they can't do shit from the low ground, as we saw. Oh, they're so sad. That's so unlucky. But again, like, this wasn't... That was a really good comeback, objectively, from, like, the objective progress from Gladiators POV. But, like, this was such a back-and-forth game the whole time. Every team fight was, like, almost instantly in the favor of one of the two teams. I think that was a pretty even matchup, honestly. That was arguably the closest map we've seen, because Circuit Royale was a stomp. Eichenwald looked good for Glads at first, but then when the map sides flipped, it looked really good for Shock. And Ilios was pretty close, actually, but Glads punished San Francisco Shock really hard for the few slip-ups they did have. And I guess I could say the same is true of Colosseo, so you're not wrong.
America right now, could argue one of them is the best team in the Overwatch League right now.
What I did like about Colosseo that we haven't seen a ton of on push maps in general was the way Shock played the objective in losing fights. I think they still lost those fights poorly. I can get rid of this now. But I think that they played the objective well in losing fights despite overcommitting to the same losing fight. It happened a couple times. Which is cool. You don't see that too often, especially on Colosseo. It's not typically like a C9 back cap type of map, you know? Alright, are we seeing the Doom mirror? We are. And we're seeing a Kilo on the Ashe now over a Sojourn or an Echo. I guess he wouldn't be the one playing Echo, but against Pataphan's Sojourn. So again, Ashe here, this is like basically a mirror, but Pataphan's Sojourn has one-shot potential with the railgun, but requires build-up. Ashe is more consistent pressure as a more standard anchor. Sojourn also, in my opinion, functions as an anchor. If you've seen my latest YouTube video, you know that. But also has the reach to also function as a flanker, similar to Echo, where you can get into position more aggressively, find the shots that someone like Ashe wouldn't be able to find mid-fight, and be that explosive fight turner that one-shot potential gives you. So this matchup on this map is going to come down to, again, more neutral pressure, more all-in potential from these two hero differences alone. But in general, it's going to come down to who is winning the fast engage and who is winning the extended engage. This is better game analysis than anything I've ever seen. Hidden gem. Thank you, Vader. Appreciate that.
It's definitely a tough one, but putting collusion does feel like the right play. No Sojourn.
Oh, massive
Oh, the shock.
poke damage here. I am surprised to see Shock not prioritize the high ground here. I think both these compositions really love the high ground, and I think, I don't know, maybe it's like the speed at which Sojourn can roll out here compared to Ashe. Means being here with Sojourn and then having a disruptor shot early is like more consistent, and knowing that you're playing for Ashe means it's slower. Or maybe Shock just prefer to play a slower engage here in general and want to prioritize longer sight lines on the low ground for that. And there's your one-shot potential right there. Who needs a 200 HP headshot when you're going up against 150 HP heroes?
Kilo's aim is just cracked.
And then Proper finds the cleanup.
It's ridiculous. Speaking of cracked as well, Proper had 2 kills on Rhino and Padawan. His
All right, first fight goes Shock's way. Instant picks typically do that.
absurd, and a shock that came into
This isn't as egregious as the double sniper Bap Zen Sigma comps on Circle Royale, but I still think it's problematic that there's so many one-shot potentials in the game of Overwatch. It kind of cheapens the macro perspective, but it does make the game more fun and appealing for casuals, I think, for the average player. There's another one-shot. I think that was a one-shot. Let's look at Padapan's HP. Okay, it was a two-shot. My bad.
They're gonna kick off another fight here with Violet now getting a pick. But
Yeah, if every fight just starts with a pick for Shock, then it's going to be rough uphill battles for Gladiators. Padapan now swapping onto the Hanzo. Doesn't feel like he can turn to Railgun consistently enough. So instead, we'll shoot logs across the entire map. Nano for Reiner coming in. But Kaluj is finding more without a Nano. Oh my god. Reiner just got diffed out of his brain. Alright, let's look at this engage. So this is Reiner going in with Nano onto the core of Kilo, Violet, and Finn, I believe. I think all three of them back here. Versus Kaluj with no Nano, with Proper going in against the Zen, Skewed, and Kevster here. So Kevster and Proper are probably just going to waste time against each other. But this is Kaluj versus Skewed, who with the new Zen buffs, as long as he doesn't get punched off the map, I think is okay in that duel. If he's in a decent position, I think he can like get this right click off, put a discord on Kaluj, kick him away, stay relatively safe. At the very least, should be able to rotate back to Shu and then play the main angle safely while they wait for Reiner and Kevster to do something. So I was wrong, by the way. Kevster and Proper just end up completely ignoring each other, both of them saying, no, my engage is better and I'm going to farm your team. So both of them just getting ignored. So that means Skewed is just dead to Tracer as well as Kaluj. He could potentially be okay in the 1v1, but not the 2v1, which is why I think also Kevster should have prioritized marking Proper, but I don't know. And then Reiner getting kicked away by Violet and then just barely dropping LOS. And because there's 3 people here and not just one of them, it's a lot harder for Kevster to get in, especially while he's anti-nated like this. And then Finn's going to heal up Violet, no problem. And Reiner, unfortunately, isn't able to secure that kill. I really think Reiner should have just gone all in on Violet here, like not even try to dodge the sleep dart, and then that would have created more space for Kevster to get in, but the anti-nade was really, really nice as well for denying Kevster some of that momentum. They do find Finn, but it's not nearly enough to stabilize now that Kaluj is back. That was really clean from Shock, and I think a couple mixed priorities up from Gladiators, but I understand the mix-up priorities. Is Proper dead? Oh, he's 6 HP. He's alive. I understand the mix-up priorities because they thought their engage was better because they were using a Nano. The problem was Kevster, the backline positioning from Kilo, Finn, and Violet was just so much better than Skewed and Shu's position, which is debatably okay because they thought they had advantage, right? They thought that their Nano was going to carry them through that fight, so Skewed got a little aggressive in his positioning. But you're going up against the Shock in the winners finals of the mid-season tournament, right? So you can't just expect free value. You can't expect them to be unprepared because they were obviously prepared. Damn. Reiner has a huge play coming up on the high ground. Okay, we'll see.
cleaned up.
Whose idea was it to give Zen a god kick? Yeah, I don't know, man.
Reiner found one, but it felt like
Not like I like that they buffed the kick. It gives Zen just a little bit. I would have given him knockback in another way though. I think they could have like, what's a good way of buffing Zen without making him ridiculous? I think they could have given like his kick just the knockback, no damage, no extra HP. I think they could have given him extra HP, no kick changes, but then also make his like right click do a mid amount of knockback while doing less damage. I think they could have given him some form of like mild mobility without giving him the knockback or the HP. You could have buffed Zen in a lot of creative ways, and they just gave him like everything. They give him more HP, more damage, and a knockback. So I don't know. We removed all CC, but we're giving Zen a boop. Yeah.
a little bit more concerned.
I would have like, what if Zen like could kick the ground and like boop himself up? That'd be cool, right? Or what if like instead of like charging laser beams to hit across the map, which I don't think is fun for anyone. Again, I'm a big fan of removing all one shots from the game, by the way. But maybe like cut the damage on his right click in half, but make the each orb like do like a little bit of a knockback. So if you have a full charge and someone dives you, boom, they're like across the map. But if you only get one charge, you get like a tiny boop. You can like instantly react, but it's not much of a saving grace. Or you could right click and aim down and boop yourself up kind of thing as well. I don't know. Something more creative though would be nice rather than just making him better across the board at everything he was weak at. I don't know about that one.
Split off. Do we help our backline or do we try and help Reiner? And neither ended up working out, and well, they lose that fight.
Look at this. Gladiators also having a bit of a composition identity.
No, is this the play you're talking about?
Look at this. Gladiators.
He really just shifted off the map.
Neither ended up working out, and
He shifts. You can see him. He shifts. He bunny hops off the shift to ride his momentum to try and get around the corner. That takes him off the map, and he doesn't realize soon enough, so he punches and hits the wall.
Gladiators also having a bit of a composition identity.
All right, once again, San Francisco Shock starting with a pick.
I'm just gonna. We'll talk about that in a second, but I want to talk about the fact that Patty has now chosen his 4th hero this round. You know, going for the Sojourn to the Hanzo to the Ashe briefly, and now the Genji.
I was gonna say 4th, but apparently they were hovering Ashe for a bit. Genji here again offers more all-in potential, but when the backline of Shock is this solid, you gotta be cleaner than that. I think Genji, interestingly enough, Genji is almost like an antithesis to what this composition thrives at. And again, I would compare this more to the ball composition more than to like a Winston dive composition. If you're playing Winston with Tracer Genji, makes a lot of sense. If you're playing Doom or ball with Tracer Genji, you need to guarantee all 3 of these people are finding value. And that's a hard thing to do in a dive mirror, especially. And especially against the Shock, whose backline is rock solid right now. So in order for all of these people to find value, the other 2 need to also find value. In order for Kevster to work around the map and not just get domed by Kilo, he needs Reiner to be relevant. In order for Reiner to be relevant, he needs to make sure that his engages are finding value from his DPS follow-up. In order for DPS like Genji to follow up because of their limited mobility options, they need Doomfist to engage harder than usual, sooner than usual, to make sure that he can even get in the first place. So to set up all the dominoes, Reiner needs to like roll out well every time, and then to knock them all down, either Kevster or Patafan needs to instantly capitalize. Because if it's not instant, we've seen the stabilization, even with no Brig, even with no Lucio, the stabilization from Shock's backline will always be there. This is all keeping in mind, you have to get this done before Kilo just kills you all with his gun, or before Kaluj or Proper find a reason to dive your Zen. So, best of luck, Gladiators. I think Genji's a throw pick.
the San Francisco Shock have rolled over Los Angeles.
It's a faster pick, but I don't think it's a good pick. I think you either need to go harder all in with a Winston instead of the Doom to make it work, to make the bubble be sort of like saving grace, because Winston could go in, commit his bubble, and then personally back out. His value doesn't matter as much as long as the bubble's good. And then Genji can dance around the bubble, Tracer can dance around the bubble, and it's a lot less committal while still being all in. Doomfist, though, like requires too much going right. Yeah, he just bunny hopped off the stairs. That's a tragedy. What do you think was the biggest takeaway? Well, the game's not over yet. We're going to see. But from that round, Shock just took advantage of one-shot potentials and had a really strong backline, and Gladiators tried to disrupt the backline without success, unfortunately. They had the tools to do it, but I think they got desynced once or twice, and they expected too much value from their nano specifically, and that ended up losing them some general fights. They don't really show up anymore, so we got Hogs. So what does Hog do as a tank, right? Hog denies space that he's relevant in, and Hog has one of the more punishing crowd control abilities in his hook in the game. So I think this isn't a throw pick. I think this is a counter, because I know from experience and from watching the Overwatch League up until this point, this is a very, very, very strong Wrecking Ball map, right? There's a ton of options. This is like Busan Sanctuary levels of good map and positions for Wrecking Ball, and really good points around the point for Wrecking Ball to engage in. Now, because of that, you can either counter Wrecking Ball in a number of different ways, either in the DPS line, but why would you take priority away from the DPS line when you want to bank on Kevster's playmaking ability on Tracer and an Anchor's playmaking ability if they've been popping off this map, or if you're expecting them to find value from specific locations on this map, or if you're trying to use them to supplement your aggressive backline, when instead you could lock Hog and just walk at people. And the problem is in the Hog mirror, there's no one really for Hog to walk at. You're never going to get in range for the Anchors, and the Tracer is just not a viable target 99% of the time. And again, if you can't walk at the Anchors, you're going to have a hard time walking at the support line. So Hogs are just going to be like in limbo in this matchup. What would I run instead? Unironically, I think this is where D.Va would absolutely stomp this matchup, because like everything Hog does, D.Va can be somewhere else and still respond to the Hog, as long as you're not like already committed somewhere else. And then you just give more to your DPS while also giving up the potential weak spots that Hog is currently threatening wherever he's roaming. I think you could also do... I mean, you could do a full-on comp swap and just absolutely destroy it, but I think you could also get away with a dive tank like Doom if you're able to get good value. Again, Doom runs the risk, same as Wrecking Ball, of getting hooked, same as Winston of getting hooked, but also has more defensive cooldowns than Wrecking Ball than Winston. The biggest fear, I guess, would be for Doom if you get hooked and then slept, or hooked and then just one shot, obviously, but I don't know. So yeah, Sig is also good versus Hog, but I don't think Sig's very good on this map. I think Sig does exactly what Hog does and just influences too much limited space. So like you can influence here, you can move over here, influence here, you can move over here, influence here, but you can't do all three at once. Wrecking Ball can do all three at once, and Hog counters Wrecking Ball from doing that. But yeah, I think you could run Sig and change your comp that just shits on a Hog. I think you could run a Rhine Rush comp and just shit on the Hog and do stuff like that. But without changing your advantages in your DPS lineup, I think this is an okay counter pick to Wrecking Ball meta.
Both sides. Yep. Stop it.
This is good. Oh, this is really good. Yep. Oh, yeah.
So we're just going to see Hogs walking around the map struggling to find hooks while the DPS actually get to play the game.
It's kind of annoying to chase down. You just got to be wary.
I love that this is map 5. And they're both teams are pulling this out. Ooh, nice anti-nade. Good combo. Have they won a fight? I'm not so sure about that one. Yeah, the problem is, like, where do you go? Like, as long as they know where the Roadhog is, they just, like, stay away from him. Oh, my God. And he's not helping their DPS at all. But their DPS maybe don't need help.
Well, that's good for them, because they will start to be able to, I think, get a nice defensive position. I wasn't going to say something snarky there.
I don't want to sound too much like a genius. But do you guys remember when I was calling for, like, Sojourn not being hard meta? Because Hanzo and Ashe and Widowmaker exist, and they're just more reliable one-shots. Nice sleep. Unfortunately, not hitting the anti-nade means that Kaluj doesn't give a fuck. He's also got the lamp and nano coming in now. This is something. This is still really good for Shock. Yeah, I don't know why you nano Reiner there. He just doesn't threaten enough. Ooh, big hook. Goodbye, Kaluj. Trade it out. Oh my God, everyone's dead though. Yeah, this take matchup is funny.
first. Normally in the hog duel, if you
Hooking first is fine if you got follow-up from your teammates, but obviously in the hog 1v1, it's not good.
So
She was scary. Seemed like a panic nano to save the hog. Again, I think you would just sacrifice the hog for a higher nano priority. Unless they're all in committing. It's like the same thing as nanoing Winston. Like, unless you guarantee his value, which you, on hog, you only really guarantee if there's already people committed to him. And planning on continuing to commit to him. Which I don't think was the case there. Alright, yeah, if you're Shock here, you just play slow. You just, like, let Kaluge do some scouting. Maybe find a hook. What are we bobbing? Kilo moving on to the point. I don't know what Shock is doing. Nice lamp. Like, what is this bob expected? So, like, this is your point, right? This is your point if you're Shock. And the only reason you would bob here is if you're trying to cut off this line so you can push this way. Which is, I think, what prompts the defensive dragon from Pataphan. But, like, it's not clear that Shock even want to push this way. I think this dragon is in anticipation of follow-up that just isn't even there. Because, like, Kevster's already marking the space, and Kilo's moving this way to try and hit this angle, which Kaluge should be solo threatening because he's hog, and he can do that, and otherwise you risk getting hooked, because Reiner doesn't really give a shit about Bob either. And also, your support line's over here instead of, like, back here, ready to support a fight over here, or even, like, at this angle, ready to support this way. This seems a little bit all over the place from Shock. This looks like Kilo going for a solo play that he didn't really think all the way through. And because of that, his team doesn't really know what to do right now. Kilo almost goes down. Kaluge goes aggressive when no one is there to follow him up and just gets obliterated. Bob gets slept, of course, and Kevster's still marking the space that Finn was now trying to take. Yeah, this is a really good fight for Glads. Does force a trance, though. I don't even think trance was necessarily needed there, but better safe than sorry. Now Kaluge on the D.Va, let's go, I told you guys. I'm a genius. Yeah, I think D.Va owns here. Because D.Va, you just help your DPS do whatever they want, and then are still available to respond to hog. You also just, like, win the hog matchup even if you get hooked.
Combos coming in for Reiner on the Roadhog, or maybe even some of these storm arrows that'll be coming through from Pataphan still on the Hanzo.
Yeah, you can use your Matrix to rotate here, but you're not actually looking to use Matrix. Oh my god, Solar Hound with the raid. Thank you very much. Welcome, Raiders. Roop. How's it going? How was your stream, Solar Hound? Thank you for the raid. Much love. Here, let's do one of these. Be sure to go throw them a follow, team. Thank you for the blessed raid. Hope you had a good stream. Welcome to us yelling at the LA Gladiators for playing Roadhog for some reason. The goated coaches, let's go. All right, but yeah, so the D.Va swap here is so good because Reiner's already not doing anything on hog, so you don't even need to do anything crazy to come back from a deficit as D.Va. And what I mentioned before on Eichenwald is like D.Va's very bad at creating something proactively, but she's very good at responding to proactive movements from the enemy team, especially when they're very readable. So all Kaluge has to do here is make sure like he doesn't get his DPS picked by Pataphan, which is easy to do with rotations as long as they're not heavily inting. And then whenever they do find an aggressive opportunity, he just collapses on them and makes sure that if Reiner also collapses, then Reiner gets nothing done because defense matrix beats everything. They really did go Roadhog. And there's Pataphan going down to Proper because Proper's a goddamn beast. He takes down two. And like Reiner's done nothing this whole time. Kaluge has done nothing this whole time. And that's A-okay for Proper. And now Kaluge is just walking forward, anchoring the space. So remember what I said about... Sorry, guys. I'm calling back to rants I did 2 hours ago now. There was a point where I talked about Kaluge's... Was it Kaluge's or Mikey's Winston on map 1? And when he backed out of space... Now it's the opposite, where they get picks, they push into space. This space is all just default theirs, and they don't even need to commit more, but Kaluge just anchors that space to make sure it's constantly contested. He's always available to respond to threats within this space, and he can push forward if they continue to find more advantages. The thing he doesn't want to do right now is get poked out. Obviously, wastes too much matrix, so he can't respond to hog hooks or get too aggressive to where his teammates aren't actually fighting. So it looks boring. It looks like they're just like getting picks and slowly walking forward because they are. But that's all they need to do against a Roadhog. They don't need to outplay Roadhog here. Oh, is he gonna live here? Yeah, Matrix exists. Didn't even need to recall that realistically. He should have tried to pull him into the traffic is what he should have done. Good old Roadhog comps. Alright, there's the swap onto Wrecking Ball, which I think is what Roadhog was designed to counter in the first place. Now that they're playing D.Va, Wrecking Ball should win the macro matchup, but with 95% of the point, you're not going to be able to line up any aggression with Kevster. You're going to be forced to anchor point as the ball, in which case you may as well have just gone D.Va or stay Roadhog. I guess you don't want Roadhog because he's slow, but proper finding Patty again, and this map's over. No ults on the table for Glads. Don't need too much more if you are Shock, but they have Pulse Bomb soon, and they have D.Va Remech / Bomb soon, but yeah. Kilo's completely untouched that entire time. Proper's just running around, farming people. Like, even that kill into Violet, like, Kilo's just free-firing this entire time while Patapan's dead in the spawn. Kaluj gets slept, but it doesn't even matter. He gets DMAC, but it doesn't even matter. Again, like, all Kaluj is there to do is to let these people do their jobs as DPS. And they're already doing that, even without Kaluj's intervention. So all that focus on Kaluj, like the Sleep Dart, the Pulse Bomb, is A-okay for Shock. Because this person's still shooting, this person's still farming, this person's still shooting, right? And it's very difficult for Glads to get through all that. Love my content. Thank you, Solar. Appreciate that. But yeah, this was a pretty one-sided affair in map 5. It seems like the two close maps were the push map and the first Koth map on Ilios, where I think Gladiators got a little lucky on Ilios with either some of their picks or some of the weird commitments from Shock, whether they were trying to commit early on their holds or commit weirdly on their retakes. I wasn't behind a lot of their decision making, but the structure from Shock shown on this map, as well as just having better fundamentals on Circle Royale and Eichenwald, definitely carried them through this. I would struggle to see Gladiators outperforming the Shock if Glads make the grand finals tonight. I would struggle to see that unless they make some major adaptations to either give them more to do on their Wrecking Ball composition, or because like again, like I don't like how they picked Circuit Royale. That just shows like a lack of confidence to me in the dive mirror specifically. And I think they don't like the dive mirror versus Shock. They could try some interesting things with map picks and go like rush comps against the Shock and try to catch them off guard, because D.Va does nothing against rush comp. Dive tanks do nothing against rush comps for the most part. Yeah, well, we'd have to see. But Glads were favoring dive maps, right? Do we see the map pool here at the end? There we go. So, no, we don't see the map pool there. My bad. We see it right before this map. So the map choices here, let's talk about them. Ilios, this was Shock's pick, I think. And they were opting for a lot of dive stuff. There was a lot of dive mirrors. Shock playing more Echo, which is really good on Ilios. Not so good on Ruins, unfortunately. I think Ruins was the one map they didn't want from Ilios, and unfortunately Gladiators got it. Eichenwald was Shock's pick. This makes sense. They looked really strong in the dive mirror. Their D.Va comp looked really good as a counter dive, but Glads were running Zarya, so they ended up swapping just into normal dive stuff. Circle Royale was Glad's pick, and was just an absolute stomp by Shock because they've got better fundamentals and they played really well structured on their defense. Coliseo was another pick from Glads, this time winning it out in their favor. Shock played well here, but I think it was just such volatility in the team fighting and lack of stronger macro from Shock meant that Glads found more even fights when Shock should have had an advantage. I don't know if that's because of the map itself or just the map type push in general, but it seems like they were all over the place when they, on other maps, look very more organized, Shock do. So I'm not sure what happened on Coliseo. Shock had the potential to win that. Obviously, they were snowballing so hard early, but then it fell through their fingers. And then Oasis, Shock favored. Shock's pick obviously wanted to play dive comps and stuff like that. They wanted to play the Doom. They wanted to play the Wrecking Ball. They did play the Roadhog, and then they just swapped to counter it when they didn't want to anymore. But yeah, it looked like stronger fundamentals, better structure from Shock, more explosive plays from both teams on all of these maps. But at the end of the day, it's about surviving a lot more of those explosive plays than it is about making them half the time. So Shock winning that this series, I would chalk it up to structure, really good backline positioning. Whenever they're playing anchors, they played really, really well. They played slow well, which is always a good thing to see. And Gladiators just tried to force too many engages that didn't work out in their favor. And I think sometimes mismanaged their resources. Their ult economy fights looked really good for the most part, but I think they still bank on ultimates too much for this game and don't find enough neutral advantages.